View with your hosts, Avia Byers, Deborah Hoskins, and Christina McCormick.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. We got a little piece of the intro.
Right. 2 seconds, y'all. Sorry.
2-second intro. Well, welcome to the Righteous View. I am Avia Byers. Our weekly podcast will focus on topics regarding women of all ages. Our mission is to foster righteous, open dialogue on topics that have been taboo within our social communities. We want to cultivate open and healthy dialogue and discussion between mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, mature women and young women. Our goal is to educate and provide factual information to these demographics concerning our biological, psychological, and spiritual existence. So tonight, I'm introducing my co-hosts, Christina McCormick and Deborah Hoskins, and our special guest tonight, Gloria Cutter-Shore, Lori Byers, and Casino McDermott will be joining us a little later. I'm so excited about the applause. I'm so excited. This panel of young women will share in a discussion concerning men, dating, sex, and communication. We want to welcome them to our podcast tonight, and we look forward to diving into these topics.
Yes. We want to encourage you to tune in on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for thought-provoking topics that will hopefully stimulate conversations that are sometimes hard or uncomfortable.
Yes, we are live on Facebook at the Hebraic Awakening and the Righteous View. If you missed the podcast, all right, you can view it and past podcasts on our YouTube channel at the Righteous View. If you enjoy the topics and the discussions have helped you in any way, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification button.
Ding, ding. I need a bell.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be the next thing that I download. So first, we want to say thank you again to our guest panelists tonight. And we're grateful that you took out the time to come and join us for this discussion. So we're continuing in our topic on the narcissistic and misogynistic spirit over our spiritual assemblies. Our last two podcasts featured a panel of young men, and they were giving their viewpoints on women, sex, dating, relationship, and communication. It was very interesting, y'all. If you didn't get to watch it, please, I suggest you go back and see those two podcasts. Our focus tonight is going to be on open dialogue with this group of young ladies concerning their perspective on the same topics. So we're going to start out with the first question, which is, what are the most important characteristics when looking for a partner?
I was like, we just talk. Hey, everybody. Good evening. Good afternoon. I'll say for me, I think that the most important characteristics are first core values, and making sure that my core values are aligned with whoever I am interested in talking to or getting to know. I think that core values really stems with like your spirituality, stems on like how you would want to, do you want to have a family? What are your principles with friendship? What are your principles around money? Those things are very important because those are the really like the bedrocks of life, right? And so for me personally, when I look for certain characteristics, I also look for, can this person be my friend? I don't date with the intention of just it being intimate, but with it also being platonic. So the same way that I will look for good characteristics with a friendship are the same characteristics that I use and apply when I'm dating as well.
Cool. That was great.
Okay.
Definitely. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I totally agree with Gloria. That point about core values is so important. So I would definitely throw that in my list. But I'll also say for me, I really look for someone who has empathy, who exhibits empathy, because to me, empathy can cover a lot of bases in life. If you can empathize with what someone else is going through by your life experiences, and thus treat them the way you may have wanted to be treated or didn't want to be treated, or whatever the case may be. That's really important to me, because it tells me that you can look outside of yourself, but also, feel that humanity inside yourself kind of at the same time. So oxymoron there. But so core values, empathy, and the ability and willingness to learn. Nobody comes into the world knowing everything. We all have to learn literally everything when we get here. So, and that doesn't stop and when you reach quote unquote adulthood.
Right.
So I need my person to share my core values, be empathetic, and have the ability and willingness to learn. So I'll stop there.
That's great.
I mean, I agree with Lori. So, and I guess just to kind of expand on core values, I think that everyone's core values are different. So for me, it's more of a blanket statement, right? So that way I'm not putting my opinions and thoughts on someone else, but I'm allowing them to present to me, what are your core values? What are the things that you place value or stock in that are going to make your life holistic? Because for some people, getting up on a Sunday and going to church every single Sunday, 52 weeks is a core value. That's something that is very important to them for whatever case. That's not a core value for me. My relationship with the Most High isn't rooted in me having to be in a building traditionally in that sense. Is that something I can compromise on? Sure, but compromise is a completely different subject than core values, right? Core values are the things that are unshakable, unmovable, and are foundational. And so I think when it comes to dating, if you don't know your own core values, if you don't have those things, like Lori said, that empathy, that's one of the things that is built into my core values. How do you treat people in the service industry when we go out to dinner? Are you mean? Are you nasty? Are you rude? How do you talk about your family? How do you talk about your friends? How do you talk about yourself? Because if you don't talk about yourself well, you can't talk about me well. I just don't believe this. I don't think you could ever talk about me well if you don't talk about yourself well, if you don't talk about your mother, your daughters, whomever the women are in your life. And so I do think that a lot of people date without knowing their truth and their core values, and allow, especially because as young women, just in our generation, social media is the bedrock of a lot of things that we are influenced by, right? That's the nature of the beast. And I think that a lot of us as young women fall victim into this cycle of influence of what are the things that the world is saying, this conversation, this narrative of what you should be looking for in characteristics with a partner. Just right now, a lot of women are placing stock in a man that's able to provide, a man that's able to buy them very expensive gifts, very expensive trips, that's been the trend for the last 3 or 4 years on social media, right? And so I've had conversations with my girlfriends of oh, if a man isn't taking me out to, this type of restaurant, I'm not going. And I'm like, girl, I'm going to Cheesecake Factory. It's cool, because at the end of the day, what are your core values, right? I don't have to go have a $500 dinner. That's not a part of my core values. Is it nice? Sure. But it's not a core thing or a core focus of my dating journey. So I think it changes societally, you know, like every 5-10 years, like there's a new like thing, right, to like base characteristics around with dating, which is my whole point of you have to know what is your truth, because if you go by the standards of the world, it's very wayward. You're never going to be happy. You're never going to find the person that is meant for you or that you can grow with and partner with. And so I would just say like having those core values, like Lori said, the empathy, knowing who they are is very important. Like knowing who you are is very important. So yeah, I would say that those are those characteristics, but they stem from you. You should be a mirror of those things that you're wanting, not asking for something that you can't reciprocate.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Don't ask me to do something you're not willing to do yourself.
And vice versa. Like I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not comfortable with, right? So like
Right.
I wouldn't expect a man. It's nice, again, it's nice to go on trips. It's nice to have someone care for you because, you know, I am traditional. So I do believe in like gender roles and responsibilities, like just point blank period. That's just who I am. Those are part of my core values. But I'm not going to ask you to do something that I feel is what you're supposed to do if I'm not. I have this running joke with my girlfriends of, you know, you can't ask a man to take you out on all these expensive trips and all this stuff, but you can't boil water. Like when we think about this table that we are all presenting at, like, how's he gonna eat, babe? Like, we're not going out the roof, Chris, every day. You can't boil eggs, you can't boil rice, you can't. There's nothing that you can do that would sustain his, you know, his belly, that would sustain his heart. And I do think that unfortunately we're missing, as we would say, recipes. Like back in the day, there were a village of older women, you know, a community of older women that passed down core values to the younger women. And now, unfortunately, you know, like not y'all, but like our moms and our aunties and our grandmothers are also on social media. They're also in the same dating pool. They're also like, so there are certain things that are missing from the exchange, right? Like of, hey, I'm going to pass you this baton because now it's your turn to grow and to foster and to blah, blah, blah. It's like everyone is just in this cesspool of dating. And it's like, okay.
Okay. So we've talked about this. Go ahead, Lori, before I say anything.
I was just gonna say I love what you said, Gloria. I'm gonna be a little bit on the other side, just a little bit though. Just for me, looking for a partner is looking for a partner. So that means to me, if you're a chef and I can't boil water, I'm gonna need you to get in the kitchen, homeboy. I need you to cook. And you know what? I'll do XYZ, whatever it is I'm good at. So that all of that to say, I really look for someone who has the ability to be a partner, who is not staunchly committed to one particular role. I do this and I do only this. No, because that's not how life goes. We have to be flexible.
Yeah.
So someone with flexibility. And also one random thing I kind of started looking for when dating is looking for someone who has grown up with female family members. So someone who has had experience with women outside of a sexual attraction or possible sexual attraction, because that gives you, there it is, empathy. That gives you an insight into somebody who's lived a life that's completely different in experiences from your own. And that's really important when it comes to men and women, because we typically don't have the same life experiences, like in the same exact way, because genders are typically treated differently, period.
Right.
It just is what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was it.
You know, when you just made that statement, so first I want to say, though, that was great answers to that, because I think when we asked the gentlemen, the men, they had real kind of short answers, and there was more of, I remember one of the answers was I want them to be mature, which is very ambiguous and very subjective because, really, what does that mean? I want you to be mature. So we had to kind of dig in a little bit and say, what are you speaking of when you say maturity? Are you, because what one person may think is an act of immaturity, it may be something else. So we had to kind of drag that out. But I want to go to a point concerning the older women and about those recipes, about those talking about things that are really important for the older generation to talk to the younger generation about. And Deborah and I had a conversation just today about how, women in their 60s are not on that level. They're not. They are very immature for
They're not the tightest two women.
They are not. They are not people who you want
A
to
lot of them are.
sit down and take. A lot of them are not. Of course, that's generalizing.
Yeah, that's generalized.
That because we are running into those people, that there's some have been injured so badly in life that it has put them in a place of which would seem that they are doing very immature things because of the levels, as Christina has spoken and talked so much about in the area of trauma. And trauma can cause you to do very immature things. And just because you're of age or in your 50s and 60s does not mean that you are capable of passing down or giving wisdom to the younger generation. So we are in a very interesting time. And that's all I get. That's the only word I can use. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
You've got women who are now, they in their 60s, they out there dating with their 30-year-old daughters.
Yeah.
They're going to the club. They're going to this place. They're going to that place. They're trying to figure that life out. They're having to try to prepare. Now they're 50 or they're 60 and they're really not ready for retirement. So there's not been a really good plan of action for that time when you get older, or some women who have been put out in that position because they were married and now they're either the spouse is deceased or may have divorced. So now they're having to try to figure out things on their own, where they did have that male partner who was there very much a part of their financial base and the stability of their home. So we are really in a really interesting time now.
Very interesting.
Can I ask you, ladies, something? So, with your core values and your friendship, I'm talking about women friends, with us saying this, do you find that the women in your community group have core values for themselves before they can ask somebody else? Is that difficult discussion with your friends?
I'll say for me, I was telling my auntie when we were kind of going over the questions. I have these conversations with my friends all the time. Like, this is a conversation, these questions and these conversations, these topics are something that we talk about often. And again, my friendships, in the same way that I would intimately be looking for core values, my friends also have similar core values to me. So I guess for me, it's more of an observation of outside of my circle, making sure that I'm aware of the world perspective and like what's going on, so I'm not ignorant to it. But I would say like a lot of my girlfriends, because of their core values, it is difficult to navigate dating, right? Because you get men that either don't know their core values, or they're basing their core values off of a podcast, bro, or they're basing their core values off of what they saw on YouTube, or they're basing their core values off of, unfortunately, candidly, pornography. Like they're basing their core values off of things that adversely don't produce good fruit, right? And so these women are professionals, they're good looking, they're doing everything that they're quote unquote supposed to do. But oftentimes it's hard to navigate dating in this culture when you are not willing to compromise who you are for the culture. When you're not willing, when you're willing to take a stand, for righteousness, when you're willing to take a stand for the things that you just don't want, like that's not the standard of living that you want to have. And yeah, so I would say like my friend groups are very much so reflective of like we have these conversations all the time, and it's not something we shy away from, because honestly, if we don't talk about it, then like you feel like you're living this experience and it's just you in this little bubble, under a microscope, when in reality there are so many, I tell people all the time, there's so many good women that are in the house. Like I read books. I'm in the house reading. I'm in the house reading. I'm minding my business. I'm raising my son. I'm in my word. Like I'm literally tucked away doing what I'm supposed to do, not because I am punishing myself, but just simply I'm not willing to entertain the conversations and the hoopla of what's going around me. And I think the same thing is true for men as well. Like there are a lot of great men that are off doing whatever their quiet hobbies are, because they too don't want to get caught up in the, Instagram baddie lifestyle and having to spend $500 per date, every time they want to go see a woman kind of thing. Like it's not sustainable. So I think, just as far as I'm concerned with my girlfriends, like we do have these conversations, and it's healthy, it's productive. It also helps to give like a release of, frustration, because sometimes frustration can be the bedrock and the root for you not wanting to continue to date, right? Like having all these bad experiences and thinking that it's only happening to you, like anything else, right? Talking it out helps. Having that, to Lori's point, that it helps other people give you empathy. It helps other people encourage you, even though their situation might not be your situation, because we're all different.
Yeah, I totally agree. My friends and I, we talk about these things, especially one friend in particular. We talk about all kinds of stuff all the time. It's just no holds barred, just whatever it is. And I wouldn't call those conversations uncomfortable in the least. They are refreshing, and they are validating. They are informative. Maybe they may see something I didn't see, or saw it in a different way, or, whatever the case may be. So, and the women just in general in my community that I spend time with, I would say that those women do, or they are familiar with their core values, and they portray them on a daily basis. So it's almost like you don't even really have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen your actions.
Yeah.
I've heard your words and I've seen your actions.
Mm-hmm.
And they what's the word I'm looking for? They coincide.
They coincide. They match.
Yeah, they match. Your words and actions match up. Absolutely. So yeah, that would be my answer, Christina.
Okay. I'm just curious as to how information is not being passed down. Maybe that's for another discussion.
Well, I think too. Oh, go ahead, Lori.
I was gonna say, I think I can't say I think, because I really don't have any definitive points to give, but I feel that there is a massive shift in how women exist in the world, period.
Mhm.
So there's just a little bit of lag
Mm-hmm.
in some of those areas where the thing might be trying to catch up to where we as women actually are. So to make that not sound crazy, so we're able to work, we're able to earn income, we're able to provide monetarily for ourselves
Uh-huh.
these days, whereas a few generations ago, not many, we weren't able to do that. 1964 we could open a bank account.
Uh-huh.
That was
Mhm.
not long ago.
Right.
So
And here, 10 years ago, the women just started driving.
see, you
Yeah,
can't
see,
get around
that's
by
crazy.
yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
And
Wow.
I mean, I think too, to that point, I think it's, Lori and I were fortunate. Well, let me speak for myself. I grew up in a family where I feel like women in community was always seen. And so like sisterhood, womenhood was always something that I saw, and from like a top down, older generation thing. So for me, like, I can call up my aunties if I have questions about something. I can call up my older girl cousins if I have questions about something. I have women mentors, and I think those women mentors I was quote unquote attracted to because I had already had that foundation of looking for wisdom from someone older. But to Auntie's point of view, to her point earlier, age does not beget wisdom. It's not a prerequisite for wisdom, right?
right.
So I think that what Lori was saying as far as that lag is very important to note, because socially right now and societally, just being candid, like the nature of being a woman is being washed away. So our society isn't placing emphasis on traditional womanhood, traditional girlhood, traditional sisterhood. And so I think with that being said, community is being lost as well. Like we're a society that really praises individuality, that really praises doing things on your own, being your own person, making your own money, doing your own thing, which is not a bad thing at all, right? But there is a reason why we have community. There's a reason why we are partnered. There's a reason why things work together in groups of people, right? Like one person can't build a skyscraper. You need a group of people to build great things, build big things, monumental things. And I
Mhm.
think that sometimes we look at relationships and friendships as being like this small part of our lives, when really they are like the most monumental parts of our lives. Like a good
Mhm.
relationship for a man or a woman will make or break, like will make your life. Even if we think about it from like a child, like a child having a great childhood, that is a reflection of the people, the adults that are in that child's life. A
Correct.
child having a bad childhood is a reflection of the poor, adults in their life. So I think when we have conversations about, dating, it goes back to relationship building and community. And those things are so important because people are always in our lives. You will never not have people. Even if you're in solitary confinement, there's still a guard that has to come let you out for your 1 hour a day, that you
And bring you your
become
food.
that's the one person you're in contact with now for the rest of your life. Like,
Yeah.
even in that, they don't just release you to go down the hallway, and like you have someone that walks you down. So in every aspect of our life, on every level, relationship is cultivated, whether that's good or bad. So that's just my thoughts on that. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this monkey wrench in there. I've told my mom this a couple of times. I feel the shift coming where women have had certain experiences in life, despite culture, despite religion, despite creed, color, whatever. Women have had certain experiences in this world, and I feel like we snatching it back, and we giving back just a little bit, just a modicum of what we've experienced to the other side of the fence. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm.
Turnabout is fair play. I'm
Yeah,
here for it.
absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
like so there was an anthropology class that I took my very first semester of college, like the first one. I was barely getting out of bed at the time, but I remember this one thing from this one class. They said that he gave us a definition, and the definition was archetype. An archetype is something that all of humanity experiences and has a need for. One of those things would be food. We all have to eat. We all tend to eat communally in some sort of way. Not all the time, not every day, but in general, we like eating together. That's a human thing. Another archetype is motherhood. Motherhood somehow became synonymous with womanhood.
Yeah.
So not to go all through the ages of all of that, but my point is that I feel like this generation, maybe mine, ours, Gloria, and a little bit after, are starting to reject that motherhood equals womanhood. That there is no existence outside of raising a household. I'll say that.
Oh yeah.
But when we get the chance to say, no, I don't want that. No, I'm not going to do that. No, this is what I am. Or yes, this is what I am going to do. Whatever the case may be. People are taking the opportunity, and I'm here for it.
Me too. I agree.
So I think I want to say we have Casina, our other guest panelist, is trying to come on, but she's having some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep trying to get her and pull her on. But I want to bring in some of the chat that's going on here. And there's one from, let's see.
I'm not seeing anything from the chat.
Finding Neshama. So she said it's sad, but it's been my experience looking for older women in the truth. They aren't healed, so they don't have the capacity to heal. This is a major issue. You are hurt. What did I say? And I keep saying, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people. Why? Because they're hurt people. And people, and the sad part about it, people, they will think that they are fixed and that they are healed, and they are not, because your attitude and your actions are speaking differently. So it's just like if a person says, I want to begin to save for a trip, and you've got a year to save for that trip, but nothing, you open up the savings account, but nothing goes into the savings account. Now, you've opened up the savings account, but you've got to, healing is much like that. You've got to make a concerted effort to heal. And you have to, this is one thing that I am learning, is that you have to stop and listen to someone who can give you an outside perspective on that healing process that's happening. Because you just saying you healed, that's neither here nor there. But you steady just bleeding over on everybody else wherever you go, and don't realize that you bleeding on everybody else everywhere you go. And broken relationships, torn up homes, torn up situations, can't figure out your way, always up in the air. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing. Those things are happening all the way around. And when we talk as a society, as we stated earlier, where you have women who are now, if they have in some way have lost that that financial or that emotional steadfastness in their home, then now it's caused like a whole avalanche of now going through this brokenness and not realizing, how broken, but we'll say we're healed. So, I mean, I'm steady working on me to get
Evidence showing up.
steady, you know. That's one of the things that is important to discuss. So we're happy to have Casina. Welcome. Good evening, Casina. We're so glad that you got your technical difficulties in check. We were still on the first question, so we would like to hear from you, unless someone else had something else you wanted to throw out there. Yes, Lord.
I did, just super quickly, just to the healing comment. Unfortunately, I think we as a people, I can only speak of us here in America and those of us who have I guess transitioned into the walk of the Torah. I feel like we sometimes allow our spirituality to overshadow the reality of
Absolutely.
what it actually means to heal. And unfortunately, we don't know what actually needs to be healed. We kind of we might look at the surface and say, oh, that's the thing that needs to be fixed. I fixed it, look. But then something else comes along and you react the exact same way. So the healing has not taken place. And my last thing with the healing is I look at saying I need healing in the same way as I need learning, because you don't, like driving. If I said, okay, go to Walmart, you'd be like, okay, how do I get there? Okay, go outside, make a right, then make a left at the light, blah, blah, blah. But you skipped over the fact that you got to learn how to drive. You got to have a car. You got to have insurance. You got to have legs that work. You got to have. So there are all of these tiny, fine details that we don't explain. Say, this is how you heal. When this happens, when you feel like this, when you think these thoughts, if that happens, do this. When that happens, do that. So I feel like we tend to say, you need to heal. You need to heal. I need to heal. I need to heal. But we don't get into the weeds of
dynamics,
how healing is, how to do it. Exactly. Because at my job, I'm telling you, I ask questions like crazy because I need to know exactly, step by step, how to pull this thing off. And that's it.
Can I just say something too to Lori's point? I think I'm so glad you mentioned that, Lori, because I always tell people, like, just from my experience, like coming out of something that was very just traumatic 5 years ago, on so many different levels, healing is, you don't know the things you have to heal from until you experience it, right? And not only that, but it's very important that you learn how to heal from someone who has been through those things and has come through it and who has the fruit to show that they have helped other people. Absolutely. And I say that because oftentimes we lean on our friends, we lean on family members, we lean on people that mean well, but will do more harm in your healing journey because they actually are not equipped. It's like going to a foot doctor for braces. Just because they have a degree in the medical professional does not mean that they can give you the things to fix your problem. You trying to get braces? Why are you at the foot doctor? They don't know nothing about teeth. They don't know nothing about gum health, So it's like, it's funny saying that, but we do the exact same thing when we go through a bad breakup, when we go through a divorce, when we are unraveling childhood trauma. And I think too, on that part, it's then our responsibility as people who have healed. Like, I'm just coming out of a season of 5 years of deep rooted traumatic healing, like getting to the root, getting to the nitty gritty. And I think it's so important that when you are now out of that season, when you have now healed, and I also don't think that we are just healed, like period, stop.
Yeah.
I think that, healing is something that is a continuous thing because your triggers never leave. The trauma never leaves. The memories of what you experience never leave. You just learn how to respond better to them. You are more equipped to navigate them versus how you were at that first part when it, completely destroyed you. You went through the pits, you had to go through all these things. But I think once you are at a certain place where you have the fruit of healing and people can, to Anvita's point, people can see it on you and they can see that your life is a reflection of the work you've done. It's so important to share your testimony. Scripture says, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. Your testimony is so important to share so that people can know, hey, I may not have gone through that, but I can recommend Gloria to you because I know she's experienced that. Or, hey, I haven't gone through that, but I can recommend Lori to you because I know she's experienced that. I may not be equipped, but, because someone has shared their testimony and their story, I think that person maybe, even if they can't help you, they can listen to you. And there's that, again, to Lori's point, that empathy, right, that comes into play. So I thought that was a really great point to make, Lori, about the healing aspect when it comes to dating, because there's a lot of unhealed people out here, that's just trying to put their stuff on you and trying to tell you that you need to heal, but they haven't healed or they're not in the process of healing at all. So I think that's also another dynamic because that's a big buzzword right now. Heal, 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 trauma, 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 and it's like, but who's doing the work? So thank you, Lori, for bringing that up. That's a very, very great point.
That is.
Can I just say something? And I'm not really going to even add because really, Gloria, you really brought out a lot of what I was going to say. You brought it out. And just, you say we overcome by, the testimony and not being afraid, because if you're truly healing, you should not be ashamed. And it helps us all, everyone needs the help. And actually, you don't know what you have, are healing from. And just as you said, even the traumas, and these are things when you're really not healed, because if those triggers and you find yourself doing the same thing and feeling the same emotions, then you haven't overcome those areas. And so just to say I'm all right, no, you have to be true, like you said, your own truths. So everything really that you said and that both of you are saying, I think this is a breath of fresh air. I'm loving this, you see, and this is maturity. This is wisdom, and it's not coming, from seasoned older. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we get caught up because it's a whole lot of older ones that need to have heard just what you both.
They need to be hearing this, right?
Correct. I love it. Okay.
This is really, really good because, and the thing of it is, the maturity level and understanding when you've been through traumatic experiences, and it doesn't matter what your title is. It doesn't matter who you are. I remember back, and I'm gonna get Casina in here and get her point on this first question. I remember back in the 90s or back in the 80s when Oprah Winfrey was really big. And I remember when she was the biggest thing, Black woman on television, just doing her thing. She was, coming up the ranks. She had the prestige. People were paying attention to this woman. It was amazing. And I remember, and y'all gonna remember, Tina and Deborah, when she started doing a lot of shows on motherhood and having children. And marriage. Because all of that, all that she had persevered through, from coming up from just being a little journalist, on a little, news broadcast, to being where she is, she still, in her heart, she wanted to be a mother, she wanted to be married, and she wanted to have some babies. And you could see that was prevalent in her shows. because she was having all of these specialists and these people and different things. And I was like, man, I said, this is one of the most powerful Black women in America today. And all she wants is to get married and to have some kids. She that's what she really, her heart's desire is to do that. And I remember that took me to a place of, man, so it doesn't matter how prestigious you are, or, and I'm gonna go into spiritual community. It doesn't matter what that anointing that is on your life. That there's still there's that level of humanity, and whether if you've gone through trauma and having to heal and deal with that trauma, and how do I do this? How do I unload this? How do I? And I'm gonna tell you, it has been really, really real for me, because of all of the change that is happening.
Is that a technical?
Okay. Okay. I don't know where that was coming from. Anyway, but having to deal with so much change at the same time, turning the ministry over to our son and daughter-in-law, retiring from work, moving to an entirely new, a whole nother continent where the culture is so absolutely different that it is exhausting sometimes. Just so much change all at the same time. And then change happening in my body as a woman going through menopause, issues, with my hair, issues with my skin, trying to figure out things that I need to do different with my skin, things I need to do different with I'm not walking in my heels the same way. My balance is not always the same, just it seems so much change that you can find yourself in a position where you're like, sometimes I don't feel like I'm myself. I feel like I'm somebody else, and that I'm just trying to figure this out. There's so much change. So those are the things that we have to realize. The reality, when someone said, I can't remember who it was, that said, the reality, we have to deal with it from a realistic standpoint. I think that was Deborah. To not almost not be true. Know that you are going through a tremendous amount of change. No, I'm healing. I am healing. I am pressing into continuing to do what Father's called me to do, and continuing to try to be healthy in my mind, healthy in my body, healthy in this place that is really different, and that I have to try to sustain myself here. Just all of the change, but you have to bring it to a very realistic level. And I think sometimes we're not real with ourselves, and that we'll tell ourselves, oh, I'm good. But when things happen, we can't even deal with them in a way that really denotes righteous living or wellness, health, wellness. So that is really all of what was said was just really powerful in those core values. Knowing the person's got to know what they want. They got to know what their core values are. But you just going up into a dating relationship and you don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
Where you want to get to know somebody else or hold anybody else to a standard when you really don't even know you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Casina, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
The question, the first question that we had posed is, what are the most important characteristics when looking for a partner?
Well, for me, of course, needing a relationship with the Most High, because that's a part of who I am. That is the journey that I'm on myself. So, as the scripture says, how can two agree if I'm messing up the verse? But basically, you can't be going in different directions,
Yeah.
Unless they agree. Hmm.
right?
How can two
So,
walk together unless they agree?
unless they agree. There we go. Thank you.
Mhm.
So there's that. And compatibility, communication,
Mm-hmm.
uh, being able, well, of course, this is going to be down the line of the relationship of being able to be uncomfortable with them, being vulnerable and things like that. But important characteristics to look for in a partner. As I said, relationship with the Most High, um, the compatibility, communication needs to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe those are the main things. Honesty and willing to be open.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what Lori was saying, the healing needs to be there as well.
Mm-hmm.
The healing is important. Good.
As the saying goes now, hurt people hurt people. So gonna
Yes.
need that
Yes.
healing.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we have to be willing, do you all agree we have to be willing to sometimes, if you need help, to be able to
Yeah.
go and reach out for help?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But that goes back to that being honest with yourself.
And
Like
Yep.
you
sometimes
can't.
it's not your pastor.
A lot of
Sometimes
times
it's
it's not.
not
A lot of
your
times it's not.
pastor, but sometimes he need help too.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not.
Talking to a medical professional.
That's what I was gonna say. And I'm just gonna be transparent because I work with black women. Black women are some of the hardest people to work with when it comes to mental health. And
Mm-hmm.
it is because we keep saying we're all right, we got it, you know, and we don't. And we don't want to do the work. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of work, like work. And so when some people come to the mental wellness group, they believe that we just talk about bubble baths no,
Mm-mm.
it is work. And so when I
We like Bubba Man.
weekly challenges that you have to do, most don't do it. And so you cannot sit there and hold the hand of each one to make sure that they do it. Now I'm opening up the coaching program where you have to pay to have that. Um, I'm gonna hold your hand, partner with you. But it's very important that when you are in the process of healing, that you do the first work. And I'm gonna tell you something. The first thing that something simple, and I know this gonna sting a little bit. The first thing you do is something simple, and I'll say, let's walk in our femininity. It's the whole thing with that, but it's not what you think, right? So I say, let's go to the store or go somewhere where you have to have help, i.e., the grocery store. You got a big old carton grocery thing full of, and you go to some stores and say, "Do you know? Oh, no, I got it." No, you don't. Let them take
Mm-hmm.
it to the car. Everything in your body gonna start fighting against what I just said, and most people won't do it. Something as simple as that.
That's that.
That's so good, Miss Christina. That is so good. And I say that's so good because, like, just transparently, me being the oldest daughter comes with, immediate responsibility, right? And so when I got divorced 5 years ago and I started having to go on my healing journey, I was raised by a very feminine woman. So, like, femininity has always been, like, core values, cool, whatever. But that part of asking for help, and not even the ask is the first, like, okay, but then the receiving help and not critiquing the help is a whole nother beast. And so like, my girlfriends laugh now. They're like, Gloria, you have no problem. Like, I order my groceries, but I specifically order water. Like, that was my one thing. I was like, I refuse to have to pick a case of water up in the grocery store, put it in the cart, then take it out and have them scan it, then put it back in, then put it in the trunk. Then I gotta drive home. Then I don't have a garage, so I gotta take out the trunk. I gotta walk up 3 stairs. I got a young son. He's 3. And he's just, mommy, he might pick up what, like, it was this whole thing. And I was like, I refuse. I will spend the $35 minimum order and I will get my 4 cases of water. And that was something that I stuck with. And I remember my girlfriends were like, that's so lazy. Why would you do that? But I came from a marriage where I didn't take out trash. I didn't carry in groceries. I was like, life is already hard enough. This is something I got to just, this was one release I have to do. And so I thank you so much for saying that, because oftentimes, honestly, like, the whole soft girl aesthetic that's going on right now, it bothers me because I think it really minutes the need to do the work. Like, I always say, you can't not do the work. Right, like, people are able to have a soft life and do these bubble baths because 10 years ago they were grinding. You can't not do what's required to get fruit. You have to put in some type of effort. And a lot of times people want to do very low effort things for very high yielding results. And that's just not the case. We base a lot of our healing journeys, dating journeys, relationship goals off of exceptions to the rule. When, yes, you are special, you are chosen by the Most High, you are one of one, the apple of his eye. All of these things are true, but 2 things can be true at the same time, meaning that you are this special individual person, but you are not the exception to the rule. That's why it's an exception, meaning it's a once in a lifetime thing that this is going to happen. Everybody might have got young and married young in your family. You might be the exception to the rule and have to do some work and do some more healing and stuff and get married a little later on in life. That doesn't mean that you are less than. And I think right now society and dating culture, at least for women, says that we are less than if we are not married by a certain age, if we're not having, to Lori's point earlier, motherhood and womanhood are closely tied together, very still. If you're not having babies after you get married, something's wrong with you. If you are unwed, unmothered, and you're not making money, something's wrong with you. Like, all of these things that you're contending with that are wrong with you, when in reality, success looks different for everyone. Like, I'm sure myself, Lori, and Christina all have different ideas of what a successful dating journey looks like for us based off of our core values, right? And so anyway, I just thought I'd say, I really thank you, Miss Christina, for bringing up that part of asking for help, because I think a lot of times, even in our dating journeys, we're not willing to ask for help and say, like, hey, I keep dating this kind of man. Can you do like an examination of like what I'm like? Let me just walk you through. Like, I've done that with my girlfriends, and I'm like, girl, you keep dating this kind of man because blah, 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 blah. Or they say like, hey, Gloria, you probably shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, oh, that's part of my personality. Or, oh, I do this all the time. And once I changed those things, I started getting different results. So let me get off my little soapbox, but thank you for mentioning that, because I think that is a very, very important thing to this conversation.
That's really good, because everybody wants to help you here. And I had a problem with that, with people wanting to carry my bag. It's like, no, I don't need you to carry my bag. And I remember Karen, my friend, Karen King, she said, let them help you. It was so funny. She was like, let them help. So I was like, why do I need for you to carry my bag?
Can I just throw this out there? I don't want to belabor the point. I know we got other questions to get to, but I think this goes back to the healing thing, because when you spend generations, literally generations, having to make sure that things get done, that everything is on your shoulders, you can't let nothing drop. Because if you do, the world ends. We spend generations in that mindset. Our bodies don't forget.
That's true.
Our bodies do not forget. There's a whole science time. Yay. No. There's a whole side of biology called epigenetics.
Yeah.
You guys have probably heard of it. And this is just the things that turns genes on and off. It says make more stress hormone, make more stress hormone, make more stress hormone. We are all flooded with stress hormones, which tells us to do whatever we can to eliminate the stress. But unfortunately, the stress never actually goes away. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox now. And I think it goes back to healing. And we, as Black women especially, we've had a time trying to trying to survive. Period.
Yeah. And what a privilege it is to be able to heal.
And it really is. And Gloria brought up a point, because it's a point that people generally don't understand when you're not an oldest. There is a mentality and a characteristic of an older or oldest sibling. And you carry that. It goes throughout your life. Where you feel the need to help and make things right with everybody, or help to I was the second mama in the house. Gloria's mother calls me her second mommy, because I was like 13 years old when she was born. She was like my little baby. She was like my baby. So, but there was always that feeling of I had to always put myself in a place. And it wasn't something that my mother and father did, but it was something that I just automatically, it kicked in. You're the oldest. You need to do this. You're the oldest. You need to think about, you're the oldest. You're the oldest. You're the oldest. Even though I had 3 brothers older than me. But there was a period of time where they were not in the house. So I was the oldest. And I was a girl on top of it. So feeling that stress of maintaining this position, making sure that my little brothers and sisters were doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I mean, that there definitely is a characteristic, and I think that there's even a trauma that goes along with that too, with being an older sibling, that you feel like it's my fault. And I find myself saying that this is my fault because I should have thought about it. This is my fault because I should have considered, even with situations, even in my life today, this is my fault because I should have thought about this. So it's really interesting with that level of being where you are in the pecking order of life. You know, growing up, my other niece, Marlena, was talking to me. We were talking about that very same thing, and how she is like, people don't always get it, being the oldest, and where that takes you and how you think, because it definitely is a characteristic and a mode of functioning for an eldest child in a house with younger siblings.
Can I read the comment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going in order, so it'll be down to up. Anyway, okay. So someone said that hardness that we develop or learned sometimes stems from the fear of being let down or perceived as weak. And then vulnerability is risky. And what was once a point of guaranteed safety has become a thing of feeling exposed or being exploited. I agree 100%.
Absolutely.
Can I just say, when it comes to, I always say that there's a difference between transparency and vulnerability. And knowing the difference between those two is so critical when dating, because how I like to explain it is that through my own little healing, right? Like my therapist talked to me about this, but like I just added a couple of things. So transparency is just simply telling the truth, right? Like you ask me how I'm doing great. You know, what color is the sky? The sky's blue. That's just me telling you the truth, me answering your question straight out. Vulnerability is the emotion that is tied to that truth. Oh, I'm doing great. And I'm doing great because I got a promotion today at work and I've been working really hard on this promotion and blah, 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 blah. My boss is da, 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 da. Oh, the sky is blue. The sky is blue because the molecules, science, Lori. But so I think a lot of times we mistake connecting with somebody by immediately going to that vulnerable place, right? For example, childhood trauma. People often trauma bond because we're looking for connection, right? And so you go on that first date, someone says, oh, I grew up, I moved around a lot. And you're like, oh my gosh, me too. I moved around too because my mom, blah, 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 blah. And now you're being vulnerable with someone that was just simply trying to have a conversation. So I think there's a level of, not, I'm not going to say buttoning up that we have to do as women, but I think that because so many of us, going back to the healing point, are not talking about our traumas with the right people, are not digging deep to get that out. We're going into dating journeys with and expecting men to be able to handle just all of this stuff that you've never talked to anyone about. And now, oh my gosh, we're talking about this and I can talk. This is something I can relate to now. So I think it's important that we really foster the art of transparency. You can tell someone the truth, but you don't owe anyone that heart space and that vulnerable, deep seated, because everyone is just, the honest truth is that Lori is my cousin. I've known Lori all my life, but maybe I can't be vulnerable. And Lori and I have had very vulnerable conversations, but maybe I can't be vulnerable with her about this topic because she's not going to be able to handle me well in a safe space of understanding. Not saying that she wouldn't, but I'm just saying, like, for an example, and I think we give people too much, I'm not going to say power, but too much, we give them too much expectation to be able to handle that vulnerability. And when they disappoint us, now it's their fault. When again, it's not. It's not. They were never supposed to get in the first place because you don't even know their favorite color. You don't even know if they're able to handle the capacity, if they're in a good mental space, if they have healed. So just to that comment, I think it's very important that, yes, we walk in our truth. We tell our truth to, because it's important to be honest about who you are when you're dating. It's important. You want someone to be honest with you, but you don't owe anyone the deep-seated, rooted tears and things that you are working with on the Most High. Like, no one is owed that until you get to a place where you can see that your heart and those things are safe with them. When they have demonstrated, to Auntie's point of view, they've demonstrated the capacity to be able to hold hard and heavy things. And like Miss Christina said, that's also asking for help. Like, you can't ask for help if you can't be vulnerable. And a lot of us don't feel safe in certain spaces. Because those people they haven't demonstrated safety to you. You just met them on Bumble. Okay. And that's okay. That's just the honest truth. So
you want to
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I just wanted to make that comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Miss Deborah.
No, but something that you said, and I totally agree with that, because sometimes you can do that, and if you both are in a state where you both need healing, you'll find yourself trauma bonding, and now you're in a real unhealthy place because you're trauma bonding where you really probably shouldn't have dated, because you both need to be, you know what I mean? So yeah. And that's what you find a lot now as well, is that then now you're in a relationship where it's totally not healthy at all, because instead of bonding in a healthy way, you're trauma bonding, where you're not. It's not gonna create, and if anything, it's going to almost come to a place where it would explode. Really,
Yeah.
you know.
And can I just say that I think, to your point, Prophetess Deborah, like trauma bonding, just taking it outside of the role of dating, you can trauma bond with a spiritual leader.
There you
You
go.
can trauma bond with a spiritual leader or someone that is considered like high authority, and that can wreck your life. Hello.
Yeah.
That's
Poster child.
absolutely.
So it's also one of those things where, again, going back to relationships, it's so important that you are connecting with people based on your level, not just your level of where you are healing wise, but also in where you are in your journey, especially when it comes to our spirituality, because our spiritual leaders are, messengers, are focal points to get, to guide us on our journeys with the Most High. They're here as as a goalpost, right? Like, hey, I'm going to help you through this. I'm going to help you on your journey. That's what they're there for. But a lot of times we find ourselves bonding with people or joining ministries or joining women's groups or joining all these different things because someone has shared their testimony, and now we feel bonded to that person instead of listening to the message of the messenger. And I think that's important, translating that back to dating, listening to the message of the messenger. What is this man saying to you that is actually going to benefit your life? Is he just telling you a story because he wants you to feel bad for him? Or is he telling you a story to prove a point that this is where he was and this is where he's going? So
I love it.
active listening is very important.
Or why he thinks the way that he does.
Yeah.
Yes. Empathy. Going back to Lori's point, empathy.
I used to always say, be careful who you give your testimony to. Because some people will take that testimony, and that's been done to me, turn it around and throw it in my face. That means they didn't deserve to receive that testimony, because the testimony was given to them to help them, because they were going through the same thing. So it wasn't given, but a hurt person is going to do what? Throw it back in your face. So it's important that we give information. I say a person shouldn't meet you in 15 minutes. They know your entire life story. What?
Insane. Yeah.
In 15 minutes?
Right.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't. Because I'm like, ooh, you need help. But there we go. And these are people who are out there dating. Do you think we can go on? Can we go on to the next question? Okay, great. So the next question: how do you feel about dating? How do you feel about dating?
Can I start this one off?
It's a time.
That is the entirety of my answer.
That's hilarious.
All righty then.
Trash.
All righty.
She said trash. All right. Trash.
I was gonna say this, Katina, do you have a point?
Katina, how you feel about dating right now in your life, in this world, in this climate?
It's rough. I know that there's still good men out there, but it is slim pickings, seems like. And I know women have been saying that for years, but it's just the world is going south quickly, and it's like people want the bed before the foundation is ever built. So dating is just like recently I saw a video where someone from Gen Z was explaining the 4 types of relationship status these days. And it starts off as talking, then there's situationship, dating, then boyfriend and girlfriend, because mainly people don't want to commit these days, which it is something that is difficult to commit to people because times are changing, things are up one day and down the next. It's rough. Dating is rough, but
Uh-oh.
Loser.
I think she's frozen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh no.
was my computer glitching?
No, she oh no, how do you disconnect with that other one?
Oh, there she is. Wait.
Oh, there you are. We didn't get that last part, Christina, because you were frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think the last thing we heard was you say dating is rough.
Dating rough.
Yeah. It is. It's it's just people, I don't know if y'all heard me say that people want to go straight to the bed without building a foundation first. It's hey, I think you look cute. I'm attracted to you. Let's go get it. Can I know your last name? Can I know your first name?
No, honestly.
Is that new though? But is that new? Is that new?
I mean,
it's not really new. I mean, people were doing that when we were young and we were dating. Yeah. People would, So it's not new. It was definitely during our generation.
But as Gloria said, knowing your core values, and sticking to them, knowing, who you are. Sorry, I didn't.
No, I was gonna say dating for me. Well, where I am right now, I find like dating is actually very fun. I find it to be very. I'm just in a place where I'm like the world is my oyster. Like, hey,
yeah,
let's date. But I will say that I took a year off of dating to recenter again my core values because I found that I was getting jaded. I was getting discouraged because what I desired I was not encountering, but I was not also placing myself in the environments, in the conversations, in the rooms to attract or to be around simply what I was desiring. And so I do agree with Christina and Lori that the big woosah and it being rough, yes, it is. I always say it's pee-pee. It's a cesspool. It's water that got pee-pee in it. That's the best way I can explain dating. It's not something that you will want to drink. But if you have to in the apocalypse, you got to boil it off to sustain. That's how it is. That's dating as a culture, because to Christina's point, like people, we don't have a culture that is valuing commitment in anything, not just relationships. Like people don't want to stay on their jobs. And again, not that they have to, but again, we're just talking about core values, right? Of commitment. And so people aren't willing to commit to themselves, right? They're not willing to commit to goals and actually see them through. So again, it's like, how can I ask you to do something that you're not, this isn't even a part of who you are right now in your core values. So, but anyway, on a positive note, yeah, dating right now for me is great. I find that because I have stronger boundaries of what I'm looking for and what I desire in my life, that has really helped. So it's easier for me to be like, okay, well, I wish you the best. My favorite thing to say is I wish you the best in your journey to finding love. Like that's like my little peaceful blessing. Bye, see ya. because I'm okay with not having, I don't have to have all of these different conversations. I have a busy life. I get overstimulated. So I don't have to entertain every single person that wants to entertain me. As soon as I find out like that one thing that I'm like, you know what, this ain't gonna work. There's no point. There's no point. I'm not that hungry. I don't have to go on 50 dates. I don't like, I can afford to actually lose some weight. Okay. So like, I actually don't need to go to the restaurant every night, you know? So for me, because of that, it has made dating much more joyful, much easier. And you know, not every man, I had to realize like not every man I'm gonna marry, not every man I'm gonna date. I'm just here. I'm like they say with like test driving a car. I'm just simply here to see the interior, you know, see the exterior, see if it smells good, do it feel good. Because I think also, not for nothing, I think sometimes we undervalue physical attraction, because people are like, oh, like I've seen some videos where a man is like, you know, my wife wasn't my first choice. Oh my gosh, I would die. I would be like, what do you mean? Or and vice versa. Like I've seen some women be like, yeah, my husband wasn't my type. And like I get the message, but like you're not attracted to your partner physically. So I think sometimes we undervalue, because we're, again, these buzzwords, healing, trauma, blah, 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 intellectual stimulation. Like people are so locked into these buzzwords that they forget the core things of like, do you like this person? Do you want to laugh with this person? Are you attracted to this person? I don't really need to know your favorite color on the first date. I'll find that out if we start dating based on conversation and just getting to know you. Like, so just for me, long story short, I'm in a great place in my dating journey. I am loving where I am in my dating journey. And yeah, I feel very, very hopeful for the future. So yeah, but I'm not disregarding what Christina and Lori said, because yeah, it's just trash. Like it is trash. And it's because of where people are placing their values in right now. People want to sleep with you. They don't want to commit to you. They want to have babies with you, but they don't want to be fathers. They want to live with you, but they don't want to provide for you. Like there's a lot of like, I want this, but I'm not going to give you this, but you have to do this, but I just want you to, you know, so there's a lot of this imbalance. There's no harmony a lot of times. But like I said earlier, just like good women are put up in the house and like, hey, I don't even want to be bothered. I know a lot of great men that, you know, just platonically, that I'm like, man, if I had a girlfriend for you right now, one of my girlfriends that I could hook you up with, sky's the limit, you know? So I just think that people in general are don't really want to be a part of the rigmarole of the dating culture right now, because it is trash. It is really trash. It's not good.
Yeah. And I'll say, I'm sorry, Gloria, were you?
Oh yeah, I'm finished.
Okay. I'm sorry. I did not mean to cut you off.
No, I'm a yapper, so I have to like put periods on myself. So you're good.
Okay. To expound on my just a little bit. I realize I have to read the room in whatever room I'm in when we're talking about dating, because not all of us have the same definition of dating in the same spaces at the same time. So like when I hear you speak, Gloria, I love that for you. Oh my God.
Thank you.
And when I hear you speak, I think about you met someone, exchanged phone numbers, said, hey, let's go on a date. Let's go out to eat. Okay, that's great. And you know, happens, whatever. Fantastic. In my mind, when the question was posed, I'm thinking about just the initial conversations that I've had with multiple guys, and it's all like, what you doing? How you doing?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah.
WYD.
Can't stand it.
Like it's just it is mind-numbingly just insane.
I don't think they get better as they get older either.
They don't, because I've dated older. I've dated older men. It doesn't get better.
They don't. They don't. I remember thinking back in the day, 20s, I would be like, just, you're so pretty. Don't talk. Sorry.
That's so true, though. That's so true.
Stop talking.
That's so true.
Oh my God. But just simply because there's a lack of actual interaction. We've become so TikTok-y. Everything is 30 seconds or less. It's so very short. It's so very instant gratification. And when I, excuse me, when I think of the past relationships that I've had, like they were no short period of time. And when I think of how those started, it was more organic and just kind of natural, where conversation actually happened. Versus what you doing? Hey, good morning. How are you? HRU.
HRU, yeah. WYD.
WYD, WYA. Like it's so very short to me. And I find myself losing, and I'm becoming I guess a symptom of the problem. I'm becoming short-sighted. You came at me with WYD, blocked, delete. I didn't give myself a chance to know you. I didn't give you a chance to get to know me because you asked me what you doing.
I was gonna say, but to Lori, to that point, if I could just say, because I agree.
WYD mean?
It means what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so I think to your point though, Lori, like when it comes to that, so like where I'm at now, like in my dating journey, right? Like I talk for a living. I can talk to a wall, okay? And I can tell that wall like everything I'm doing for the day, okay? That's just who I've been since I was a little girl. I am a conversationalist. And so I know the art of conversation, and I also know how to let me not say I know how to encourage someone to have conversation.
Right.
However, the downside of that is that in the past, I would be encouraging you to have conversation, but you weren't interested. And I didn't pay attention to that. You're just answering my questions. You're not adding to the conversation. You're just, yes, no, this is my favorite color, blah, 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 but I'm carrying the conversations, right? And so this time around, going back into the dating pool and everything like that, if a man did send me like WYD, I would be very clear and like, hey, I live a busy life. I'm intellectual. Hey, I like to send voice notes. Blah, 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 blah. Me putting extra effort in lets you know that you're going to have to put effort in. If I see after that first couple times you're not putting in effort, I sing you, I wish you well on your journey to find love. And when I tell you every single time I've sent that, if the man was actually interested, it's oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm so busy, blah, 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 blah. Can we exchange it? Like there's a level of, and I'm not saying it's always on us to have to do this. I'm just sharing my experience. But there is a level of, I think what you said as far as like it's making you short, it's making men short as well. Because my sister, I'll just say like on one of my dating profiles, I like had different pictures of myself and like all these different things. And like I'm a big reader. So I had a picture of me like holding books. And I think I put up my profile and within like a day I had like 300 matches and impressions. I was like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. Like I cannot do this. This is a part-time job. No. I can't do it, right? No. Because the quality, that's 300, let's say 10. I was like, okay, interested. So quantity does not mean anything. But my sister, I was laughing with my sister about it. And she was like, Gloria, have you like seen like what other women, because I was just like, why am I attracting these men that I would never, like what I was like doing the work in a reflection. Why would this man with gold teeth be attracted to me? Like, what about me says that I wouldn't be with you? Right? And she was like, Gloria, have you like looked at, because I want to make sure I fix that, right? To Miss Christine's point, I want to make sure I heal that up real quick. Like, let me figure that out. You know, let me do the inner work, because that is not who I'm trying to attract. But my sister was like, have you like taken the time to like look at other women's profiles to see like what's out there? Like what are the men seeing in their pool? And I was like, no. She's like, well, just turn your profile over to like interested in women, whatever, so you can just see like what's out there and then turn it back. So I did that and I was just like, oh, I had no idea that these men are seeing women that are half naked, that these men are seeing women that are smoking, like that these men are seeing women that are, you know, always in lounges. They don't have hobbies. They're not taking pictures unless they're going out. So like it made me realize that the men that I'm attracted to is also looking for me through the cesspool of dating, right? Because if I'm seeing men with, you know, smoking and with stacks of money down their arms and stuff like that, they're seeing the opposite of that, which is the IG baddie, right? And so I think that really shifted my perspective as well of why sometimes they're giving, to Lori's point, why they are giving low effort, because they don't know you. They don't know if you're shallow, if you're low effort. So it made me have to have, to your point, empathy and putting myself in their perspective of, okay, well, they don't know me. They don't know me. Like, I had one guy tell me, he was like, I thought your profile was fake. And I was like, for real? He was like, yeah, because like nobody's posting pictures of books. No one's just like posting all these pictures. And I was just like, oh no, I'm not fake at all. But I just say that in the sense of like, yeah, it can be very exhausting with the 3-letter period. Because what am I doing? I'm doing the same thing I do every day. Right? Like, I have stability. I'm doing the same thing I do every single day. So, but I definitely understand that as far as dating, it can be, the art of conversation is lost. People don't talk.
I agree. Mm-hmm. And I am so glad you said that they don't know me either. So that low effort thing, I totally get it. I even give them a little grace period. And like in my dating profiles, I'll say something like show me your intellectuality. Like, what's the difference? I told my mom this. Tell me what's the difference between 2, 2, and 2, there, and there.
Because you have to.
Yeah. I need you to know. And if you don't, that's okay. You know what? We can laugh about it. We can chit-chat. But the thing is, can you make the conversation flow? So those ones that can't, and they just continue to go on with the WYDs and the nothing conversation, I let them go real quick.
Got to.
But I do definitely give, some grace and a chance to the men who are also fatigued by the Instagram baddies. Because I think the social media life has just has degraded dating and courtship and marriage and love just so tremendously that we can't even see past it at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
because we went through a whole period of like people nobody wanted to be in love. Everybody anti-love, anti-relationships. And now it's crazy because now we're getting into a place where people are like, oh my gosh, I actually want to be in love. I want to be in a relationship. But it's like, you don't have the foundational principles of love. You don't even know what love is. So how can you look for something that you don't know what you're looking for? How can you attract something that you don't know what you're looking for? So.
I'm sorry, Cassina, do you have something?
Yes.
Don't let us talk a lot. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, y'all really. Good. I'm enjoying I'm enjoying the conversation, but I'm sorry. But the WI that irritates me so much. You're asking me on a Tuesday
her internet is spotty.
Normal business hours. What do you think I'm doing?
Working. Right.
I am
exactly.
Correct.
I want to put in that same effort. Yeah, but
I mean, we ain't retired.
So in the middle, like,
right.
And also, like, what are you doing? You're not working?
Right.
You ain't got nothing going on? You ain't got no motion? Like,
we really need to end this conversation.
So you can find something to do. Yeah.
That's always my next question. I'm like, I'm working. What are you doing? Why do you have so much free time?
Okay, so are y'all ready to go on to question number 3?
Yes.
Yep.
Is your perspective on men today? So I'm going to tell you, the men were very vocal. I think they were pretty vocal on this question. But we want to hear what you all feel. What do you think of the men today?
I would love to start off by saying that just like all Black people are not a monolith, I don't think all men are a monolith. I don't think all men is an actual thing. There are a lot of things that a lot of men have in common, but I think there are enough differences that we can, find our person. I think young men today are basically, like Gloria said, they either, in the house chilling, doing what they want to do, playing video games, watching anime, and being about their own business, building Lego sets.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the ones who are out there trying to dominate the world. And you know what? Whatever floats your boat, just leave me out of it. That's no.
That sounds like Pinky in the Brain.
No, that's exactly what it is, Auntie. Pinky in the Brain. I think to Lori's point, it is important to like acknowledge that people are not all a monolith. And I personally don't like making. Oh, go ahead, Lori.
I'm sorry. My ending statement was that think that they are. I think young men today are struggling just like we are. I think they're struggling just like we are. So everything that we've said up to this point, I think they have the same perspective, just simply on the other side. So as much as we hurt, they hurt. As much as they fear, we fear. As much as they, whatever other emotion, we do the same. So I think it's just about aligning the zippers so that they actually zip right. Stopping there.
No, that was a great analogy. I like that because I'm a visual person. So that definitely made sense to me. But I was going to say what you said, Lori. I think it's the same on both sides. Like, I think that if I look at it objectively, I would say like a lot of young men today are lost. But on the same side, I say a lot of young women are lost too. Like I tell my parents all the time that, and I'm going to say this how I say it, that young women today are trash. So it's very hard to date against the grain, right? Because you're dating with young men, with the men that you want to date, thinking that you are a part of this pool when you're not. So I think it's the same thing for men, right? Like a lot of times we're dating men in the pool and we're trying to go against what we think that they are when they're not. And so I think on both sides, we're like going up against the stigma that's out there societally right now of just again to Lori's point, men and women, like men are a certain way, all men are red pill men, podcast men, everybody want to dominate the world, everybody want to everybody want a woman barefoot and pregnant, but like this like very strong thought, and then on the other side they're going up against the all women want to do is spend men's money and be set up in the house, but they don't want to work, but they want a man to buy them lavish gifts when like that's not the case, right? And so I do think that for me, and with me having and raising a young Black man, I think it's really important to acknowledge that what Lori said, like I think they're experiencing the same things that we're experiencing. I think that they are literally going up against the exact same thing. And I think that the lie that is perpetuated is that one side has a greater strain than the other. I don't believe that's true. I believe that just like, because, we are only speaking from our experiences as women. We don't know what it's like to be, and as Black women, we don't know what it's like to be a young Black man, right? Yeah. Like I tell people all the time that for me, Black men's emotional mental health is so important to me because I'm raising a young Black son. So I need him to be able to communicate his emotions, because a lot of Black men can't, right? Or they don't feel like they were ever given the opportunity to. And that's a core value of a relationship. Any good relationship is communication and expressing your emotions and how you feel to your partner. So I think Lori made an excellent point and summed it up for me when she said that they're experiencing exactly what we're experiencing. And just,
That's what
going
they
back
said.
to the culture, I think it's a culture thing. I don't think it's a men are bad or women are bad. I think the culture is not a good, it's not representative of good fruit. So how can you have people that are a product of that, right? We're the dating pool is a product of the culture, and that's just simply put.
Mm-hmm. And we're hearing that same thing from it's not just in the United States, but it's around the world. So it's here the same thing, because the same thing is going on over here. Speaking to my loctician, was saying very much the same thing, that he finds himself going home after he closes his shop. He has his own little barber shop that he built, bought his little land, built his barber shop, and has his customers coming in and out of there doing. And he said, I'm going home. I'm going to do a home visit, do somebody's hair, and I'm going home, fix dinner, take a bath, and go into bed. He said, because the women are no good out here. And he tells them, Mom, Avia, they're no good. They're no good. They want 10 men because they want each man to give them something. But then I don't want you to acknowledge me in public, because I might be with my other man who's giving me something else. So he's like, I don't want that foolishness. I want a woman who's going to be for me, So he's in the grind, doing what he's supposed to be doing, trying to want to be married, want to have being a nice young lady, want to have children. But there we go. So I think you're right, absolutely right. Men are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Some points in the chat.
Yes. You want to go ahead and read them?
I'm cracking up at it. What she say? Looking for the next big mama heart with a Holly Berry body.
No, exactly. Yeah.
A lot of men, which is, I'm just going, now y'all know how I am. I'm married, so I ain't even in it. However, I always said, if something happens, I'm with, listen, I'm just going to shoot straight. If something happened, I know we in different age categories, right? But if somebody ever sent me a 3-letter text, I'm blocking you. I ain't giving you no second shot. And
exactly.
And men,
you are blocked.
It's men are very effeminate, and I don't mean they like it. I mean they have very feminine attributes, and so it would make it nearly impossible. And that's for them old jockey Negroes that don't take care of themselves, and then they looking for a nurse. So,
right. Somebody help them to get out of
real. Very real.
Keep up their medications.
That's very real. That's very real.
Just being honest. And I know they probably say something about us, but I'm just saying, for me, if it was me and y'all asked me that question, you ain't getting no second chance on no doggone, what y'all say, WYD.
WYD.
I ain't throwing you nothing. I ain't throwing you no sex, no life grinders. I ain't doing nothing. And you effeminate for doing that.
Because I can see you.
I in that area.
Yes. My husband, who are you? How did you get my number? You are being blocked. Who?
Such a little girl who says that to that WYD. See the little girl self. So y'all know I need healing in that area.
But I will say to that point, I think what we did not state is that a lot of these conversations are happening online, right? Like, so it's happening on like online dating. Like, no one is going up to someone being like, WYD, like
Yeah.
in a lounge, in a club, in a bookstore, like at work. No one is doing that. So to Lori's point that she made before about the organic connections, I have found that meeting someone in person organically is a 10x experience than meeting someone online, because with online you have this facade and this you have time. In person you ain't got time to be, come on, like we conversating, we're talking, like
Right.
it is what it is. It's an in-person exchange, and that level of rhythm we are all familiar with. You can't just stare at somebody
Right.
and just stare at them in person.
Yeah,
But online, right, but you'll be looked at as like, okay, I'm about to go. You a serial killer. I'm not about to sit here and talk to you, have coffee with you. But online,
Don't worry about it.
But online, someone can look at your profile for hours and see that you've commented, like responded to their message and not respond to you. So there's this, like, it's a parallel reality. It really is. And so that's just funny. I just had to say that because we're not talking some WYD. Please get out my face. I would not even entertain that. I'd be like, what are you? You're weird. Goodbye.
Well, I think it's weird to walk up to somebody. How you doing? What?
What? Who are you talking to? I don't know you. Go away. Because men don't know that you're married. They walk up and they see you and how you doing?
I mean,
just keep on.
I mean, but at least they had the nerve to shoot their shot.
Correct.
Saying it in that way is just weird to me. Because you're like,
yeah.
And that's just weird.
Yeah.
Just, hello, ma'am. How are you doing? Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, no, they're not doing that, Auntie. They're not saying ma'am, but we get your point. We got the message.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. They're not saying ma'am. They might say like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, or how are you doing today? But like, "Hi, ma'am." No, different times. They are not. The ma'am. How they promise, ma'am. They don't even say yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna be offended. Like, who are you talking to? Who are you really talking to, ma'am? No, I'm kidding.
And over here, they'll ask you, "What's your name?" None of your business. Why would you walk up to somebody and ask them what their name is? I don't want you to know my name.
I'm not gonna lie. That would work for me. That would work for me because I was about to say, Auntie, that would work for me. I'd be like, "Oh, hey, I'm Gloria. Who are you?" Or like when I'm out with my friends, we have different names. We have different names that we use.
I don't like people knowing my name because I'll say Fred.
You say what?
I don't. Fred.
My mommy. My
Or
mommy.
they say,
What's your name? I say, what's your name? George. That's my name too.
Oh.
Well, you know.
All right. Okay.
For anyone watching, I don't recommend you do that in dating.
Actually, I might use that.
You're dating. No.
That might be a good little icebreaker.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. He's like, George, that's crazy. My mama named me George too.
Oh, my name is George.
Then it shows your humor. Now we're going into core values.
Ooh, I don't know. It wasn't humor. I wasn't laughing.
Right, exactly. We're trying to turn lemon into lemonade.
Yes, Father, please. Yes. Question number
Okay. Let's go on to our last question. Oh, no. So the fourth question. What is sex to you? And is it physical or is it spiritual? Now, the men had very interesting points to this. So they said it was, of course, physical, and some, that there was a spiritual aspect to it. But I hate we lost Casina
I was
again.
gonna say, I know. I think she said her internet was
Having problems
messing up
with
on
it.
her. I mean, for me, it's both. Like, just very candidly, it's both. I cannot have one without the other. Now, what I will say, just being transparent because we're having an honest conversation, I have had, casual sex with a man, just physical. However, it's not sustainable for me as a woman that values a true intimate connection. And it's also for me a dangerous thing to do because I have found myself being intimately spiritually connected with multiple people. And I know people talk about, soul ties and things, and we, again, buzzwords, we talk about them very loosely, but it is a very real thing to bond with someone sexually and to share a passing of a moment, and then to do that repeatedly, and then to do that with multiple people. Like, there's no way. I know people, we have situationships, there's no way that one person will not get emotionally tied. It's just impossible. That's not it's just not how we were designed, right? It's another form of very deep connection. Sex is a form of deep connection. And I think nowadays, because it was once such a taboo topic, it's now so free flowing that people have forgotten how sacred it truly can be. Now, it's not sacred for everyone, right? Some people are just like, yeah, I'm just having sex, blah, 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 whatever. But I think sometimes we forget, because it is so free flowing, people talk about it all the time, that it isn't this, like, similar to motherhood, similar to parenthood, people just out here having babies. It is a very real thing to raise up a human being from birth to, like, the rest of their lives. It is a very real responsibility. But because we are in the era of baby mamas, baby daddies, no one's getting married, it's so normal for us to see it that we don't honor the sacred responsibility of it. And so for me, I do believe that sex is both physical and spiritual. And I think it also holds a lot of you. It's something that you have to be very responsible about, because there's a lot that comes with it. And I'll just leave that there.
Yeah. So, on the heels of that, there's a lot that goes with it. I think, as a scientist, my first thought is sex is a biological process. It's something that the human race and all other animals, trees, and all kinds of things need to do in order to replenish what's here.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have sex in order to have children, in order to have generations. Now, I do believe that there are two sides to the coin. Not every housing contract is a 30-year mortgage. Yeah. Sometimes it's a year-long lease. Sometimes you don't own it. Sometimes you do own it. I think that there is a very real physiological need in the human body to have sex. Do I think that it's always spiritual? No. Do I think it's... Thank you.
Sorry, I'm outside the fireworks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's got to be one of our, remember, that's got to be one of our sound effects.
That must have been a great point, Lori. Continue.
Yeah. I think that was Casina trying to come on. She's trying to get her camera on.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I don't think sex is always spiritual, nor do I think it's always only physical. I think that there is a very unknowable aspect of sex. But the fact that we don't look at lions having sex as like, they not married. We don't look at baboons having sex as you're a whore.
Stop. Right.
And if you sit down and really just think about being touched as a human, not only sexually, but touched. Okay, let's say a kiss on the forehead. When's the last time you had just a good kiss on the forehead?
Yeah.
That's a touch. it's not platonic, really, but it's also not sexual. But it's a touch that it makes your heart glow just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say it makes my heart glow just a little
Mine
bit.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's sweet. Like it's a part of the physical existence of us as human beings. And I think it's something that we get to enjoy versus other species where it is literally a matter of life and death. Get the deed done, have the children,
right,
and move on. But for us, there's something pleasurable. I think probably because the fact that children come afterward, or typically come afterward, and it hurts so much, we'd never do it again. That's why it had to be pleasurable. I don't know. But I do think that sex is a thing that most humans need. I do think it's a need.
Yeah. And I think too, to that point too, Lori, I'm glad you brought up the pleasure aspect, because I think there's a difference between like having sex to procreate, right? Like that being like when people go on like their fertility journeys, or they're going on their, journeys to have children, versus you just out here just,
right,
being free. Okay. And I think that based on how you grow up and how sex is talked about and how it's viewed and how it is discipled into you as a child, will really alter how you enter into sexual conversations or sexual relationships with people. Because I know for me, sex was always like, you don't have it because you don't want to catch something. Like I was never scared of having babies. I was always scared of like catching AIDS or like catching herpes. Like that, like babies, I was like, oh, okay, that's gonna happen anyway. But something like my body, my health, I'm scared. I'm petrified, right? So it was this big like fear, right? And then I got married very young, had as much sex as I wanted to because I was married, free, cool, whatever. And then that marriage ended. And so now I'm in the wild, wild west of,
what do
if
I
have
do?
sex with somebody, I'm gonna be like, to Lori, I'm gonna be a whore. If I have sex with multiple men. So I had to, like, I had my own, sexual journey of, having sex with men, being in relationships with men, having sex, and figuring out what that meant for me as a woman, again, for my core values, right? If I have sex, growing up in a very religious household, now I'm going to hell. Now I'm going to be deemed, just this whore, this scarlet letter A, or is it, hey, just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do this thing, right? And so I had to get to a place within myself, also with society and us having a very sexually liberated society and people having very sexual experiences where, I've learned about a lot and I'm like, oh, I would never do that. I'm never going down that rabbit hole again. But I think to Lori's point, we are the only organisms that get pleasure from this physical interaction. And I think the pleasure part is the part that is often exploited and often considered as taboo, because you can get pleasure out of eating ice cream. Doesn't mean that I'm having a spiritual connection because I'm eating ice cream. But then for some people, it could be a spirit because, wow, I've never had ice cream that tasted this good, like from another country. Like gelato in Italy is completely different from gelato up the street at the grocery store.
Yes.
Right. And so I think like when you break it down to like the pleasure aspect, that's where we can see like, because you can also have pleasure in something that you're gaining spiritually, and that spiritual exchange, right? Like there is a very real great thing that comes when you have sex, and it's on an intimate spiritual level as well as a physical level. But I think that comes with the right person, place, and timing. I don't think that you can get that every single time you're having sex with someone casually. I just don't think you can.
And I think that's one of the problems with because I just can't put those two words together, casual and sex. I just can't put them together because I know that it is so
much more complicated than that.
Mhm.
And when people think, well, oh, we're just partners in the way we just meet up and we have sex. That it's because there is such a connection um in it,
Mhm.
and that you in ways can very much become, they can become soul ties, tied to somebody who you really, really um are not connected any other way other than that. And that can be pose a problem, because then sometimes I think in our minds as women, we think, because this is what I've heard women say throughout my life, just talking to women when we were younger, before we got married, at the beginning of my marriage, and they would, well, I'm gonna have to go ahead and marry him, because I mean we've been sleeping together, so I gotta go ahead and marry him. But he's horrible. But he's a horrible partner, and everything about him is horrible. But in our minds, well, I don't want, because my thought is, okay, so if I don't marry him, then I go sleep with somebody else, and then so we then our minds start becoming like this roller coaster of emotion. What should I do? Should I marry this person? And then so many marriages like that then end in a divorce or an annulment, because they had absolutely nothing else there was nothing else good about the two of them together, other than that thing. And it becomes with when you get into that intimate place and you get into a marriage relationship, sex becomes very small to really important life things. It becomes, now, I don't care how great of a sex partner you are, if you can't hold a job,
Right.
or if you beating me every night,
Right.
throwing the kids out the window and beating them like like you're crazy, you're now, that sex becomes minuscule because of the bigger life things. So I
So that makes me wonder, why is sex so big in any other case?
The joy of the pleasure in the moment.
I think people are in the moment. I think it's just about the moment. Some people, and I think it goes back to healing. Some people are, because they're just trying to they need.
Let me clarify my question.
Okay.
So, Ma, your statement was, in the context of a marriage, sex becomes very small in light of all of the big life things.
Big life stuff.
Yeah. Why is sex outside the context of a marriage such a big deal?
Wow. I think that it flips. Because when the relationship when the responsibility of the relationship, now that we've come into covenant, now there's so many other things that take precedence over that. Well, when you're just in a relationship, let's use the casual sex. We don't have big things together. We just have sex together. So I guess that's why it's more important, because that's what we have together. If it's that kind of situation. But I think that's why, if we're looking for a mate, for a partner, that should definitely, your partner should please you. Absolutely.
because that would be disappointing.
Wouldn't it?
Marry somebody.
Yuck.
Father,
Yuck.
that's horrible.
I could not imagine. I do not want that in my life.
Because then it would, I imagine it would become a big thing. Because imagine
Absolutely.
going years. First of all, here's a little bit of random medical history. They started giving women hysterectomies because they said the women were going crazy because their uteruses were not acting right. Long story short, I'm not even going to go into all the details. The doctors ended up saying that the uterus needed to contract. They needed to orgasm. Long story short. So they were not being pleased. And then that translated into, sterilizing women by taking out their uteruses because they said that something was wrong with the uterus when it really wasn't. And they simply needed to orgasm. So a terrible sex life, I think, I can't speak for anybody's marriage because I'm not married, but I think for me, it would be a big deal if my partner could not please me.
Please you.
And how do you know that if you don't have sex with them?
Yeah, before.
And I think that, Lori, I think you make a great point in bringing that up, especially in the confines of like religious settings, spiritual settings, right? Because oftentimes, purity culture, I think, is the number one thing that has killed a lot of young women's ability to choose and partner well. Because I know, Anvita, you were mentioning before about like, you don't know if this person is going to be a good partner. Like, you don't know, right? I think the danger, though, is that you don't have to have sex with everyone you date in order to, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's the extremity of, okay, I have to have sex with this man within the first 90 days because that's what society tells me in order for me to see if he's going to be sexually compatible with me. And then you find yourself in all these casual sexual, like it's a slow burn, but once you're in it, it's burning. You burning rubber. You know what I mean? So I don't think anyone, and I always just try to look at it from like most people aren't trying to do bad things or quote unquote bad things or like trying to like go to this extreme level. But it's a slow burn. And once you're there, you realize like, oh, I have 5 different sexual partners. And that was not my intention, but I'm talking to 5 different people. So I do think, though, that when you get to a place where maybe you are interested in, there's 3 guys, and now you're really interested in maybe one of them, if you are both open to the conversation of what does sex look like for me? What do I place my value in sex? Because some men only have pornography as their value for sex. They're not looking to pleasure their partner. They're not looking to connect with their partner. They're not looking for an intimate relations with their partner. They're looking to have an orgasm and to be gone. And that's it. I'm just trying to get mine and go. And I know that sounds, let me not say it so crass, but that's just simply what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that, again, that goes back to, sorry, y'all. The people are doing fireworks outside. I'm trying to speed up and mute myself. But it's just one of those things where I think that, again, that's where that vulnerability comes into play. That communication comes into play. Because you will be able to, not for nothing, I also think that there is a level of teachability with sex too, right? Like, I do believe that you can tell, at least for me, I can tell if a man might be sexually compatible based on his body language, based on what he's talking about, based on like if he's sharing with me his past sexual experience and like things that he enjoys doing, based, just kind of like objectively, right? You really don't know until you know. But I think then it gets to a place where you should talk about sex. You should talk about it. It should not be this big taboo of we're not going to talk about it until we're having it. Because why? We talked about everything else. I know about your mama in your childhood and all this other stuff. Like, why would I not know about like your sexual experiences or your sexual experience and what you desire in a partner? Because then you go into sexual fantasies and what people actually like. Some people are into BDSM. That's not me. I don't want to listen to chains. But if I already like you, and now I know that that's what you like, now I'm like, you going back to what Anvita said about the commitment. Now you're partnered with this person, and they expect them to be, BDSM. I'll say it that way. So it's like, I think it is very important that you are, if we're gonna have these vulnerable conversations about then it is important to have the conversation about sex. It is. Because
Right.
some men are, what if you're dating somebody that's a virgin and you didn't even know?
And
You didn't even know that they were a virgin. And now they get into the bedroom with you and you feel like they're not a man and they can't perform, but you just found out they're a virgin once you took your clothes off. That's a whole like mind thing of like, wow, now we have to deal with this. When from the not the beginning, but during conversation, it might have come up if you had the topic of sex. So I do think it's important to have the topic of sex
Right.
when you are dating, but I think that it's a journey, and I don't think you should be talking about it date number 2 over cheesecake at the Cheesecake
Right. Right.
And I will throw out there that I do not think sex should be done willy-nilly, like just any and everybody, just whoever, whenever, whatever. Nah. I think there is a responsible way to go about having sex in whatever way you choose to do so. I think just like consuming alcohol, the same as with sex. You can drink responsibly, you can have sex responsibly. And nor do I think that every time you have sex with someone, it is now a lifelong tie that you have. I did just my personal thought.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Casina. I'm just reading through these little. I wanted to get into these little comments over here, but go ahead, Casina.
Oh, I'm sorry. To me, sex has just been physical, but now, being in truth and things, I am more so wanting that deeper connection and it not just be a physical act. For the longest, I haven't even wanted to have kids. Now I'm a little bit inclined to have some kids. So there's that aspect, but there's also I had a saying, love may be blind, but lust will make you blind, deaf, and dumb. So the aspect of having sex too early in a relationship, you're going to get messed up because it just messes you up, especially if they're good at it.
It does.
Right.
Really?
Absolutely.
Sometimes I've wondered, like, should it just be that you wait? Because, like, if we truly trust the Most High, we should know that He knows us better than we know ourselves. So He knows what kind of things you're going to like in bed.
Yeah, please don't
send your partner.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know that that's his problem. What?
I was about to say, I think that I disagree because I feel like I feel like we have.
Oh, I think he cares.
I think he cares about us and for us, but I don't think he's like, come this way because this man is gonna get your rocks off. Like I don't think that.
No. He got a whole bunch of other stuff to worry about. I feel like we put too much on the Most High. We put too much on him. Like that's a lot.
This is true, but this is just one thought I've had. Like, so He knows that He made you with like a woman. Maybe she has I'm just gonna say maybe she has a shallow vagina and can only handle but so much penetration. She doesn't need to try and be with a man that has a mandingo. She doesn't need a third leg type of man.
True.
So there's the men out there with the small ones.
But I think again, like, who are we to say that? Because all things are teachable, right? And not again to get too crass on the call. Yes. But I think that when you start nitpicking, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Casina, I'm just being a devil's advocate and adding a different perspective to the conversation. I think when you start nitpicking things of that nature, you miss the whole point of, am I supposed to be having sex with this person? Do I desire to have sex with this person? Would this person, and how I think about sex now, honestly, truly, is if I, ended up pregnant tomorrow, is this person going to be a good partner for me to do life with? Not just with children, to do life with. That's where Lori said having sex responsibly, same thing. If I go out with friends, can I go out and drink with these friends? Right. Or do I have to be responsible and be like, hey, I can't drink with these people. I'm only having ginger ale because I don't know how this group of people are. And also, I don't hang out with people like that. So again, it goes back to what I was saying as far as like the way that you choose your sexual interactions and your partners, you should be thinking about would you place yourself in these environments with things like Lori said, like with alcohol? Because sex is not, we use sex as this just like free-flowing thing when it is actually, again, a responsibility. There's so much, there's sexually, like, just forget babies. Again, like I said, growing up, sexually transmitted disease. There are things that you can get that you cannot get rid of, that you have to take medicine for the rest of your life, that you then have to go into. You're still in the dating pool. Now, to be responsible, I have to tell new partners that I have this thing, that I have a condition, or I have something that is never going to leave me. Are you okay with that? It adds another layer, right? And so I think that there is I'm going away from the point, but to your point, Christina, I think that the Most High is concerned about the characters of our soul versus the quality of our physical appearance. And I think the characters of your soul will help you to choose a good partner in life. Because sex is teachable. They have sex classes, there's sex therapy. Even people that are great sexual partners at the beginning, you change, you evolve. So you may go years later and what worked before may not work no more.
And what I was thinking as you guys are talking, and I want to read through some of this stuff because someone is putting information in there. Is it sex or is it we're talking about within covenant? So the thing of it is, even if a person go back to that person has decided to save himself for his wife, and now you do find out that this person now is a virgin. These things, there are things that are teachable. If the whole person, the person meets all those other standards, checks all of the other boxes, that there is absolutely, I believe that there is a possibility of married couples. We have to talk there concerning our likes, our dislikes, and not to go into it too much because I don't want to gross Lori out. But
Thank you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Me too.
Well, okay,
You're mine, Ma. It's okay.
Okay. So when we were together and got married, we did have to talk to each other. I don't like that. That feels good. Yeah, do some more of that. Don't do that. I don't do that no more. Yeah. I don't want to do that. So there's that teaching aspect of learning each other, likes, dislikes. And that's not just in the spiritual realm. It's also in that physical realm. So there is a man could literally, I believe, could be a virgin. You meet him, you fall in love, he checks all the boxes. You find out when you're having this conversation about it, is that going to be a deal breaker? And he says, I just believed I wanted to save myself for my wife. And I made that promise and that dedication to the Most High. And I believe that you're going to be my wife. And let's talk about this. Is that going to be a deal breaker? No, I want somebody who's already experienced. Is that, I'm just trying to, get some clarity on that point.
It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. You're asking, so Auntie, you're asking if a man is a virgin and he says he's saving himself for marriage, is that a deal?
Marriage, so that's why he's dated, but he has not found someone who he would give that precious debt over to, and he wants that to be something that is between him and his wife. And he's not trying to necessarily find a virgin, but he himself has held himself to that esteem that that's what he wants to do. Would that be a deal breaker? Because that might be somebody who you would have to
teach.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a deal breaker for me, just because, again, going back to core values, I would be aligned with like the reasoning, right? Because he's not saying that he's doing it because he believes that sex is bad, that he believes that like there's a true fundamental heart posture for that decision, right? And I think that it's kind of like how men say, "Oh, I'm not dating a woman that can't cook." You can learn how to cook. You can learn how, or how people say, "Oh, I'm not dating a man that doesn't have a car." You can buy a car tomorrow. Like there are certain things that excuse me, if it can be taught and it makes sense on your reasoning of why maybe you don't have this skill, I'll say a skill, right? Of why you don't have this skill, or why you've chosen not to learn this skill, but you are willing to learn it. You're willing to, with sex, like I would be assuming that he would want to learn how to please you, because he has set himself apart for his wife. So he's wanting to come to the table already with this, submission is often used as a bad word, but with this level of submission in the marriage, right? And so for me, I wouldn't see that as a deal breaker personally, because maybe I'll have to, because also, not for nothing, you are then a virgin in that marriage by default, because you now have to learn what he likes too. Y'all are discovering together. So what you might be like, I'm the best at so and so and so and so, he may not like at all. So now you have to learn new things too. So I think like a lot of times people go into sexual relationships or these kinds of conversations and they're like, well, everyone is doing everything and is an expert in all areas. And that's not the case. What works for somebody is not going to work for the other person all the time.
Okay. Well, let's get look at some of the comments. Our sister Finding Neshama, I'm sorry, is putting some conversation out there. And she says, asked a question, Gloria. She said she was trying to recall the term that you use to distinguish vulnerability.
Oh, so the difference between transparency and vulnerability. So transparency is the act of just being truthful, just being honest. Vulnerability is the act of being truthful, but tying the emotion behind your truth.
Okay. She said, could this also relate to sexual encounters? And by the way, is there a distinction being made about the perimeters of sex or the act?
I think that transparency and vulnerability can for sure relate to sexual encounters, because again, that's where like having casual sex comes into play. Casual sex is just the wham bam thank you ma'am, like you're just having it, right? But the vulnerability, that emotion, that intimacy that is tied to connecting with someone can come into play. So I do think that it's not black and white, like it's not dichotomous at all. Like it is very much so a gray area, and it applies, you would have to apply it based on your own journey of where you are in your healing journey, like we were saying before, where you are in your dating journey. Because it's not sex is just not one size fits all. Just like being honest is not one size fits all. People do tell varying degrees of their truths, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're lying. It just might mean that they don't feel safe with sharing everything with you at that time.
Okay.
And I think the same thing goes for sex.
So she also put up. Go ahead, Lori.
Can
I'm
I
sorry.
jump in there? So the last part of the question is that says, by the way, is there a distinction being made about the perimeters
Mm-hmm.
of sex or the act? So I think this might be what I was talking about. Parameters being what is our contract? Are we 30-year mortgage or are we 1-year lease? So is that what the question is? At some point, whenever you get a chance to answer. If so, that's exactly what I was saying. Define. Let's define the things, because in my mind, like I said before, scientists, sex is sex. Period. It's the act of procreating.
In science, right? Correct.
Is
correct.
male female together, sperm egg, baby. Then we've got other extra stuff that we have pleasure. Pleasure zones, I'll say, that don't really serve any physiological purpose outside of pleasure. So the Most High put that there.
Right.
Put that there. So
should there be? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Go ahead. You think?
I was just going to say, I think that there is we have the ability to define what sex means for us.
Okay. So this is the question with that spearheads into. So the real question is, does sex need to be within covenant? Because there is a level of covenant that is supposed to go with the act. Now, because and why I'm saying that is because because I see what you all are saying. You're not saying that because I've got 3 dates set up for next week, but I'm not going to go. These are times, whether it's the first date, second date, third date, fourth, because even the 4th date, am I supposed to be considering, oh, am I going to sleep with this one? Am I going to sleep with that? I don't think that's that's what y'all are saying. That you're saying that this has to be, there has to be a time that is taken for a time to get to know each other. So this person that I may now want to make that step with, we are considering, and I'm going to take the conversation at me and that, couples have, we are considering, we are interested in getting married. So this is not a person where you're just still in the dating and now I'm going to sleep with this one. Oh, then I'll sleep with that one. Oh, then I'll sleep with that one. And then I'll decide and make a difference or make a decision. Because then there seems to be no level of, where does the level of covenant, I guess is what I want to ask. Where does that come in? And how would one know? How would one know?
I would say the covenant comes in when you both decide that that you want to be in covenant with one another. I don't no. I think purity culture has trained and ingrained in each and every one of us that sex is marriage. Marriage is sex. Sex is marriage. Marriage is only for sex. No, wait. Sex is only for marriage.
It's only for marriage.
Yeah. like I think the fact that has been drilled into our brains has kind of clouded the fact that we get to explore without sex and explore with sex. If you have 3 dates lined up in the same scenario, 3 dates lined up next week, and one of them you are really, 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 really into, both of you are really into each other, and we say, okay, you know what, this thing between us is undeniable, let's try it out. And you try it out and it's great, whatever, and then you still go on the dates with the 2 other guys, you don't have sex with them. Okay, you're all adults, you're all consenting adults. I think that we get so caught up in make everything 30-year mortgage, make everything a commitment, like right now, forever and ever and ever, that I think it actually takes away from the truth, the essence of the thing, the essence of what sex is. Sex is procreation. Sex is pleasure. Sex is both. It's not one or the other. It's both. It's procreation and pleasure. Why do I have to sign and say I will be with you for the next 240 years in order to have an orgasm? Why? And I'm saying that in a, like, this is the only way sex can really exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, to Lori's point, I think that for me, it goes all the way back to that level of responsibility.
Yes.
And I want to say this because I want to make sure I say it correctly, and how I mean it. As someone who had to overcome the hard purity culture, this being drilled into you, because I got married young. I was having free sex for 7 years and thinking like, oh, the bedroom is not defiled. Like I can do whatever I want to. And then whoop, having that swiped from up under me and going from being a married woman to now a young, unmarried young woman who has only had sex with one man and struggling to feel like I'm not going to go to hell if I end up having sex with a man that is not my husband. That did more damage to me than just simply having casual sex. Exactly. And being able to explore myself as a woman. That level of spiritual, I'll just say spiritual trauma being ingrained into my psyche, that if I have sex with a man that's not my husband, everything I do in my life, it does not matter. None of my works, none of the fact that I care about people, pray for people, do what the Most High tells me to do, blah, blah, blah. All of that, null and void. You're going to hell because you had sex with a man that wasn't your husband. That is the danger of purity culture. It negates everything that you are and who you are as a person that the Most High created because of this one act, these 2 acts, these 10 acts of you having sex with someone. But to your point, Auntie, of your question about the covenant part, I do think that the covenant part comes into play when you sit down with a person and decide that you are wanting to move forward with them. Yeah. Because we're talking about this in a very abstract way, but in everyday life, it's not this abstract. You know when you want to talk to somebody. You know when someone's going to want to move forward with you. You know when you might be interested in just having sex with that person. And I think it's, again, it goes back to who you are in your truth. Where are you right now in your dating journey? Yes. Because some of us are in a place where we can have casual sex. I was in that place before where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out here. Because, again, I'd never had sexual experiences outside of my ex-husband. Right? So I was like, oh, maybe, it might be all right. Then I found out I didn't like that. That was not sustainable for me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what everybody else did. And but that was my truth. It doesn't mean that my girlfriend that goes out there and does it, that she's any less than, right? But I think the covenant part comes into play when a man says, hey, I like you. I want to be with you. And maybe y'all do have sex one time. And then y'all decide not to have sex anymore because now you're wanting to work on something and build a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's not like you have sex with someone and now every day you're going over their house. Like it's this combustion of always having sex with them. Or sometimes it's also, to Lori's point, it can be sexually frustrating. So therefore, now you got an attitude every time you see this person. Now you don't even want to go around. You don't want to go to their house because you feel like you're just so attracted to them that if I just, I think there's a level of responsibility you have to have as a person within yourself of self-control and discipline. And that translates to other areas of your life. Sex is just, it's just a reflection of other things that are in your life. If you are someone who is not disciplined, you're not going to be, if you're not disciplined with your health, you're not going to be disciplined with sex. If you're not disciplined with, the things that you want to do and want to have in life, you're going to be out here having babies all over the place. So again, that level of responsibility and again, that level of health. Sex is not just about pleasure. There's a very real thing, which is why we have birth control, we have condoms. Like there are cases like Houston right now just had a whole syphilis outbreak last year. Syphilis.
Yeah.
Syphilis.
We heard about
syphilis. It. What is this? The 1900s, like early 1900s? Syphilis.
Come on.
And it's because people are exchanging bodily fluids like you drink water. So there's a level of responsibility that comes when you have sex with multiple partners. And there's a level of honesty going back to that vulnerability that comes with, hey, I'm a woman that has sex with, I have casual sex. But a lot of people aren't willing to have that conversation. So Anvita, that's where that level of that covenant, people aren't having covenant conversations. You can't have a covenant conversation if you are not a person that is looking to have covenant within your life yourself.
Mm-hmm. Christina?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your thoughts?
I agree with what the ladies have been saying. Like, it's a responsibility in having sex because, like, for me, I never wanted to be a baby mama. Like, that term does not appeal to me. I wouldn't wear that as a badge of honor. That's just me.
Right.
But I do agree that it's a responsibility to it. And yeah, the whole bodily fluid exchange, I need people to think, really, because that's just nasty. With too many fluids and things. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe too. But
I just want to really say to Christina's point about the baby mama thing, right? And this is why I think purity culture is very dangerous, because I quote unquote did everything right? Like I had my child in like 3, I think almost 4 years after we originally got married. Yeah. So I did everything right. I never intended to be a single mother, but whoop-de-doo, here I am. Now I'm dating and I'm a quote unquote baby mama. So I think that even if you do save yourself for sex, even if you do have sex in a covenant relationship, that there is you still run the risk, because people are variable. We all have different things. We go through life changes, et cetera, et cetera. It does not make you any less of a person just because, or any greater of a person because you would stand for sex, because things are still liable to happen. So I just wanted to make that point when Christina said that about like being a baby mama, like, because some people think that, oh, I'm going to save myself for marriage and I run like, yeah, you lessen the risk of that happening. But what if you become a widow?
And I'm gonna be real honest with you. My thought is that marriage is a bigger risk than casual sex. It's a whole lot more involved in marriage than it is casual sex. A whole lot more.
I can definitely see your viewpoint on that, Lori, in the sense of marriage requires a coming together of two lives completely in all aspects. Whereas, and which is why a lot of people do have casual sex, because to our whole point, it's low commitment on all the other things in life. Like Anvita was saying, like when you decide to get married with somebody, now sex becomes less of a ding, 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 because we got finance, we got children, we got all of these other big buckets. But casual sex is like, oh, you know what? I can just have an orgasm and I can go about. Everything else is separate. My finances are separate. My health is separate. My family is separate. And that is the appeal right now in the dating culture, is that because I don't have to commit my entire life to someone, I don't have to then uncommit, which is so much harder to
Yeah.
untie a life than it is to tie one together. In a lot of cases when it comes to like divorce.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I see what you're saying on that point, Lori.
So there's some more out here about, okay, it was about the I want to read this one: Christian purity culture, perhaps, but legit. But what of Torah purity culture? This is a legit question. What is the Torah-based standard, or what is the standard you're using based on, respectfully?
I'm gonna say this. In the Torah, when we see things talking about sex, we're usually seeing something to do with something has gone wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
if a man takes a maiden,
Mm-hmm.
he rapes a woman in the field, she doesn't cry out, we know what happens. He dies, she doesn't. If a man rapes a woman in the city and she doesn't cry out, they're both killed.
Mm-hmm.
What other sexual situations? So we have all of the prohibitions against about
rapes a woman who is betrothed to a man.
Yes, a woman betrothed to a man, dead, he's killed. Also, we see the prohibitions against, daughter-in-law. You can't sleep with your father's wife. You can't sleep with your sister. You can't sleep. You see all of that
classified as sexual immorality.
I have never seen it written, printed in the scripture where it says don't have sex before marriage.
Right.
Now, I will say that it was 100% the culture that they just didn't do that.
Right.
So maybe it just didn't need to be said. They just didn't do that.
Right.
So we don't have, and correct me if I'm wrong, please send me the book, chapter, and verse. But we don't have something written, printed from the Most High to Moshe, to the children of Israel, in the first 5 books of the Bible that says, do not have sex unless you are married.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that. And there's a part of me that thinks this is wrapped up in purity culture as well. Purity culture didn't just start with Christianity. I am like 98% sure it started with men. Men wanting to be territorial and saying, that's mine. That's my land. That's my woman. That's my house. That's mine. Because if no other man has touched you, then how can you know that I'm not doing you right? I think it's another method of control. And I'm going to get off that soapbox.
No, I think that's a great point, Lori. Sex has always been used historically as a form of control. Because as women, we have often been the lesser of society. Not Black women, not just women. Women on the totem pole, women, right? And sex has often been weaponized against us, has often been used as a form of control. And I think when you add the religious component to it, it makes it that much heightened and easier, yes, because with a lot of times where your spiritual health is, it's tied to your heart, it's tied to your mind, it's tied to your soul. You're basing everything off of your spirituality and who you are. And so I think when we look at the Torah, it is so very important that we pay attention to context and we pay attention to history. Because to Laura, you made a very great point of some things weren't put in there because they didn't need what's understood doesn't have to be explained.
Right.
Now for us, we're going to look back at this history and time and be like, oh, everybody was having sex. Well, there's no need for us to talk about casual sex because everyone's having it. We don't need to talk about the parameters of casual sex because everyone's having it. It's something that we all know about. So when my children's children talk about casual sex, They're not going to ask me about casual sex and what is it? What they're going to understand it because it's already something that's a part of the culture. So I think that you make a great point of bringing that up because oftentimes, and people also use people use scripture out of context all day, every day, every day. They're still talking about Hava eating an apple.
Right.
Okay. Like still.
Right.
Right. The Messiah was a white man with blonde hair, blue eyes. That is not scripture. Like, you know what I mean? So there are so many things that I think that we as a people bind ourselves to, tie ourselves to, that the Most High wants us to be free from. I don't think that he wants us to have this just like, to sex and to things when, to Lori's point, he created us from head to toe. If he didn't want us to feel pleasure from sex, we would be like baboons. I love that you said baboons. We would be like baboons. Because they're just silly animals, you know what I mean? Like, but we would be like baboons. If he didn't want us, if he wouldn't have put that in, we didn't put that in there. You can't go take a pill and be like, okay, when I turn 13, I'm going to take my pleasure pill because now it's time for me to have this hormone in my body. That's not a thing. Mm-hmm. That's not a thing. We have it from the very moment that we are born, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I personally, I don't like when people place such a heavy stock because again, there's no scriptural context to a Lord. Like Lori said, everything. Like there's no scripture to back that up. Yes, you can use scripture to back up an idea, but that idea is based off of a man-made idea. You're then you're finding scripture to validate your fact when you can do that with anything. People do it all day on social media on podcasts. And take stuff out of context, you know?
True. Well, just quickly, Cassina, did you want to add something in there?
No, everything that's been said, I agree. You know, although I do think sex had to be pleasurable because why else would women put ourselves through having multiple kids?
Thank you.
That's what I said.
That ain't fun.
That looked like hurt.
Getting them babies out. That is not fun. I would never classify that as being fun. But I wanted to bring out a point concerning that. And since we brought the Torah base into it, so I try to look at scenarios because Lori, you know, that's one great thing about you that I love about you, that you, you know, you've been studying the Torah since you were 12 years old. So you have a very good base and a very good foundation, understanding and knowing what the Torah says and what it doesn't say. Then what we have to do is we have to go into the portions, and someone she's put some scriptures up there, so I'm
gonna look it up.
Read those. Okay, that we look at scenarios and situations in the scripture that gives us an understanding or an insight into the cultural dynamics that was going on at the time before the scripture was Torah was given, and at the time that the Torah is written. And remember that this is a culture of people that we can't always really identify with. That if you look at the story of Dinah and her brothers, and remember when she went up to have a celebration with the ladies in Shechem in the city, and while she was there, the son of the king, Prince Shechem, decides he likes her, and he is going to, now this was not, he just laid with her and it was consensual, but he raped her. Absolutely. He raped her. And what was the response of the brothers when she came home and the whole thing just blew up. They find out she was raped. The father, then Shechem and the king come down to it, talk to Yaakov about, why don't you just give her to my son really loves her, blah, blah, blah. We know from the standpoint of being a woman, if he loved her that much, first of all, he would not have forcibly raped her. He would not have had to have taken her like that. He would have went to the father and did what he was supposed to do. I see your daughter and I would like, my son would like to have your daughter. He would not have done that. So it was something, and then there was something really important that Shechem did, or that the sons of Yaakov did. And something really important that they said that I always focus and go in on, that they said, this thing is not to be done in Israel, that we allow him to make our daughter a whore, period. They classified what he did as her being looked at as a whore because he raped her. Now we're going to give her over to him for marriage. Such a thing is not done in Israel. There is okay, you put the word in there, protocol. There is a protocol in the culture of these ancient nations. And right here where I live in Ghana, there is a protocol for I want to marry or I want your daughter. We see the protocol of Abraham sending Eleazar into the land where Abraham's father was from. Get a daughter from my people, and don't get a daughter from the Canaanites. He goes in. The child was only, Rachel was only like 10
like 10.
10 years old.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was 10, I think. And he brings her back, and then he has to wait. She is so young, because the cute focus on that is she was so young, he couldn't even go into her yet because she was too young, until she probably began to grow up and then started her menstrual cycle. And then he was able, okay, I can take her as my bride. But what I'm saying is that there was always in the Torah, there was always a protocol, and that there was always a covenant that was put together with the fathers and the people who wanted to have go into relationship.
The men.
Yeah, it was the men.
And here's the thing, Mom. What happened with Shechem was done in Israel. Literally, it is written in the Torah. And give me a minute, and I'll give you the book, chapter, verse. If a man rapes a woman,
yes,
he gets to marry her.
Yes,
that's what they did.
Right, exactly.
So we can't.
That's the culture.
And I think, but Shechem, that's what Shechem did.
But that's what I'm saying. What is so wrong with it being outside of a covenant? That's what I'm saying. Because now you have people who are saying, well, I can just go and rape her and then she'll be mine. That's the point that I'm trying to bring up, that we don't see it in the Torah, but there definitely is a protocol that is spoken of as the way that it is done in decency and in order, that the woman, and this is done for the woman, that the woman, like the son said, is our daughter, is our sister to be made a whore, because that's what it was viewed as. because it's outside of covenant. She is supposed to be lifted up, esteemed. There's supposed to be a dowry. His hind part's supposed to come down, talk to the family. It's supposed to be a big celebration and jubilee. She's supposed to be dressed up and adorned and esteemed like she is this beautiful daughter of Israel. It's not supposed to be that he's supposed to just take her and now, oh, okay, now you just get her. This is not to be done in Israel. So even though we see with the Torah that it doesn't say that it's sin, and this is my point with that. Nowhere in the Torah does it say it's sin for little Jacob down the street to lay with little Abigail down the other street. They come together and then they have sex. Their parents come together. These kids fell in love. They had sex. Let's let them go ahead and get married. That's not sin. We don't see that as sin. Sin is always an illegal relationship. A father sleeping with his daughter, a mother sleeping with her son, illegal relationships. Those are the relationships that the Torah says are sin, but he does not say anywhere in the scripture that it's sin if a little boy down the street and a little girl down the street come together and they have sex. The church has put a disgrace on on that. Now the parents can come together and say, okay, they're young. If they get pregnant, we've seen it. They've made movies about them. Yeah. They come together, they get married. Some they work out well together. Some don't. But the thing of it is, the scripture does not call it sin. So we cannot say that it is sin, but rightly according to the Torah, there should be a level of esteem that a woman is held to where there is a covenant and that man abides in that covenant and he respectfully goes into a relationship or a sexual relationship.
I agree, but can I say, I think it's a very different conversation when we're talking about sexual assault versus consensual sex.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say too. I think it's a very different conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm bringing that up, not for the sexual assault part. The thing that I'm bringing up is that the reason that the brothers said what they said is because there was supposed to be protocol. If he wants our daughter, he's supposed to come in covenant with her. That's my point. Not that she was not about the rape part.
But
that's
what
not
if, focus on. Even what if they were talking about making Dinah a part of their culture and thus idolatrous and thus whoredom? This is not done in Israel. Mm-hmm. That makes more sense to me than just the fact that he raped her and now he wants to marry her, but he can't because this is not done. When it clearly is written as such, if he rapes her and she's available, he can have her.
But that's a daughter that's in Israel. That's not with pagan nations.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But my point is the fact that they said this is not done in Israel.
This is not done in Israel.
So
but okay. But down through the ages, the ancient cultures, because it's still done over here right now, that there is a protocol. The fathers and the uncles and all. What I'm saying is there is still
a right way to go about doing things.
There's a way, and I know that y'all, because I know both of y'all, and that you're not, and I believe I know Casina a little less, less longer. I know that's not right. A little less than you two, and I don't believe that the three of you at any point are loose women that you would just go, oh, let me just go over and, oh yeah, I'm going to sleep with this one. Oh yeah, I'm going to sleep with that. I know that you value yourself and you esteem yourself higher than that, and that you are not loose women. And I get it. And we're trying to really get this perspective and to talk about this, because I think there's a lot of people that are really, really hooked on that you are really hooked on the idea of, if I have sex, I'm now the most horrible sinner in the world.
And I
There
think that's the
is
part.
no
Yeah.
Torah for that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There is no Torah. But when we talk about, if you're talking about a partner, someone who you may be thinking this could be a right person, I will never forget what my grandmother told my mother. And my mother is 91. She'll be 92 in July. My grandmother, when she said, my father and me and Harvey want to get married, my grandmother looked at my mother and said, are you sure? Yes. Are you sure that he pleases you in every single way? My mother didn't know what she was talking about. She told me later, after she became an adult, she said, I didn't realize my mother was saying, you need to sleep with the man and make sure he satisfies you, because you know you want to marry him. If this is who you want. And they were in the church. And my grandmother wasn't a loose woman, but she was trying to make sure that her daughter, if she married this man, that he pleased her in every single aspect, every single way, because they were already saying, we have chosen each other, we want to be married. So, I get it. And when my mother told me, I thought, wow, my grandmother was really progressive in a time where women weren't that progressive. Because my mother wouldn't have never told me that. She just said she didn't even know what grandma was talking about.
I know she went, because my mama ain't tell me that.
See? I don't know that mommy shared that. That's one of me and mommy's, I'm the oldest girl. So that's one of those conversations that she and I just shared together. And I was just blown away. But that tells you that there is a level that people that should we be looking at that? That is something that we need to have more dialogue on, because the Torah does not say that's sin. Okay, you slept with that one over there, and now you slept with them before you got married. That's sin. It doesn't say that.
No.
If I can just be really candid, I think that I struggle with the conversation when people, not saying that this is what the commenter was doing, but I struggle when people place, because the Torah is our foundation, right? Like, not taking that away, not taking away the fact that this is where we base our spirituality, and it is our compass, right, with the Most High, and how we gather our life principles. Got that. That is not anything I'm negating. I struggle with the level of control that people have placed and manipulated context to fit an idea. Because what we're talking about here right now is sex okay to have while you're dating? Like, right, like, is that something we should do? Is it good? And not even is it good or bad, but is it something we should do? Right? Like, what are our thoughts on it? And I think when you take, to Lori's point, because that's something I was going to say, and Auntie, I understand why you brought up the scriptures about the rape, but I think that having covenant sex, or having responsible sex, or having consensual sex is so far removed from the act of sexual assault and rape that they cannot be in the same conversation. And I think when you place them in the same conversation, it makes it dangerous, and it makes it back to sex being taboo, and makes it back to sex being unsafe. And it makes it back to, oh, I should stay pure so that way I don't find myself in this situation. Because then as women, we're placed again, when we are the victim of sexual assaults and of rape, now it's my fault because maybe I wore my dress too short. Maybe I was too friendly. Maybe I should have been nicer. When it's never your fault to be sexually assaulted or raped. It was never these daughters' fault that these men came and wanted to make them harlots and wanted to make them prostitutes. And I think too, just because you have casual sex having casual sex does not make you a prostitute. These are things that the Christian church and a lot of religious leaders make synonymous when they're not. Back to Lori's point of motherhood and womanhood are not synonymous.
Right.
Because you have women out here who are godmothers, but aren't natural mothers to children. There you have like Aunt Vita is one of my moms in my life. She always has been, but she's not my birth mother. But she's taking on that role since I was a little girl as a mother figure. So I think that when you place prostitution in the realms of rape and sexual assault in the same healthy, what we're talking about is healthy, responsible sexual, you convolute a lot of things. And that's where pure culture thrives. That's where the enemy, Hasatan, gets a foothold and shackles us into this thought of we cannot have sex lawfully, or I'm going to go to hell if I have sex with someone. Like it brings up all of those things. So I think it's a very dangerous line to teeter. And if you're not in a place in your own self, and again, who you are as a person, what are your truths? What are the things that the Most High told you to do? Because just because for me, I could be on a abstinence journey and like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to have sex because this is what I feel like the Most High is telling me to do right now in my life. That doesn't mean that my girlfriend who is having sex with whoever, Tom, Dick, and Harry, that does not mean that the Most High did not tell her not to do that or that she's going to go to hell for that. And I think that's where we're basing this conversation off of. I think it's a very dangerous line to teeter to try to coexist the two because they are very different things. And that is where purity culture thrives, and that is where purity culture has had so many young women end up in marriages where they are victims of domestic violence, where there are women of financial abuse, where there are women of reproductive abuse. They're having all these babies and they never wanted one, you know? So I think that if we're going to talk about the Torah in that realm, we have to talk about the responsibility of the man with a woman and all of the things that come with that. Like it's not, and I'm just very strongly about that because it's not just the woman's responsibility when it comes to sex. And that's what purity culture teaches, that it's just our responsibility. But that man is also laying down with you. He has the seed that he is then sowing. So it is then his responsibility. That is the Torah. So if we're going to talk about one thing, we have to, like, we can't just talk about one part of the fruit and not talk about the whole tree and the root system if we're going to go that way. So I just wanted to make that comment too.
Good.
Well said. Beautifully said. And can I throw something out there? This is I know it's a much deeper topic, and I don't mean to open this can of worms because I know we're getting late here. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that 99.9999999% of us, not just women, but also men, men and women, have experienced sexual abuse in early life. Early life. And because of that fact, things that follow after get more complicated, or they feel more complicated.
Yes.
I don't know that they actually are, because again, the scientist in me says sex is procreation, sex is pleasure. But of course, I know it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. I can't even begin to really truly understand. I wish I could, but I it's a lot. Sex is deep. I get it. And I think the fact that most of us have been assaulted in early life, that shapes how we look at and internalize purity culture.
Yeah.
And then internalize what it is we ourselves want. To say that pleasure is bad I should not want to have pleasure, that all of life should be suffering. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave that there.
You know, and thinking of purity culture, you know, it's your body is the temple of the Most High, and you know, don't defile it in things. And to be honest, I got to a point where I held that thought in such high regard, like only the high priest can enter in the Holy of Holies. Then I realized the high priest only does that once a year. I'm like, well, I'm not trying to have sex once a year. So that kind of diminished that thought for me. You know, just the Holy of Holies and only once a year. But
yeah, but Christina, even to your
analogy though.
Yeah, it is a great analogy because when we think about defiling, gossip can defile your temple. Lying can defile your temple. Not eating properly can defile your temple. So once again, having sex, yes, can defile your temple. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are so many other things that are just as important that we do not place stock in when we are using these kinds of scriptures in relation to purity culture and sex.
That's really good. Ladies, this was wonderful. We're not even going to attempt to go into question number 5.
Okay.
We're going to leave that for next week. So we'll or maybe if we can see because what is the date for next week? Is it the 8th? Because I know we've got I hate to base it on this, but we have a set outage that we're going to be without electricity on the 6th from 7 a.m. to 12 midnight. So that's like 17 hours we're going to be. So I just don't want to set it for it, but it's not Thursday, it's Tuesday. So we should be safe to go into our next topic. And we'll, let's see, Christine, if we can try to capture some of the comments. I did capture the scripture, so we can go into the next question next week, and I'll just include that in with the other 4 questions for next week for y'all. We want to thank y'all again so much. This has been a great topic. It's been like 3 hours, y'all. Yeah. I mean, this is like really been good. I'm just really excited about what is happening in these discussions, because and we have talked about it, myself, Christina, and Deborah have talked about how important these topics are, and that we don't just keep shoving them and putting them to the side, or shoving them under the rug, or acting like they're not important, and or acting like, we have crisis. We have our young women are in a crisis, and older women, we have got to take responsibility that either we are going to be part of the solution, or we're going to keep our mouth shut and be part of the problem. Because when we don't interpret scripture properly, and we've only taken from what people have said, or like Lori said, man has said, or man's interpretation, then what's happening, we are losing a whole group of people that's really trying. And I know for myself, beating yourself up, feeling like you are a whore, feeling like you are, and people just batting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. People don't know that you had childhood issues where you were molested, or you were mishandled, or you were raped, and therefore now there's a spirit that comes after you because of that. And that's what people don't realize, that it's not the young lady's fault or the young man who it was done to, but there's a spirit that now comes after you because of what has occurred. So we're going to get back into this, and we're going to go into the perspective on open dialogue and attempting to build relationships. We're going to start off with that next week, and we're going to go through our other questions. So, Deborah had to leave. She has had an emergency. So we're going to just go ahead. Christina, you can go ahead and take all of that. We want to just go ahead and do our closing statement.
Okay. We enjoyed. Thank our guests for coming and having the conversations. And, I knew this was going to happen. That's why I was intently listening, right? Because, you will have to teach a whole Torah session.
Come on.
You will have to when this topic is brought up.
Really do.
You have leaders that's probably going to watch and they don't know what we just said. And it's not to say that we know more than everybody and we're the doctors of Torah, but that's something that I had to research myself for myself. And I was like, ooh. And so, and I'm with rabbis. Our young women and men are in crisis. And they're trying to figure this thing out, whether we like the dialogue or not. People are watching it, like it or not. They have to figure it out because somewhere along the line, the wisdom chain was broken from the elders passing down wisdom.
Correct.
Right? And the elders, we have been passing down some misinformation innocently enough. We working with what we got, but it's just gonna take more than one conversation.
Absolutely.
Really get to understand the perspective of our younger people, right? And something that I wanted to just chime in really quickly before we close is that I have this conversation with my children, but one thing that I tell my own children who are all adults is that, of course, you don't want your children running around here loose. I said, but if everyone is struggling mentally, you need to be real careful about just laying down with everybody if everybody has mental health issues. So that's the only problem I have with casual sex, because you don't know that the person that you laying with is a lunatic.
There you go.
We're just trying to have pleasure.
Right.
So we don't want to, teach, don't do it, period, because when you do that, they running to do it. You don't want to, just openly, so there has to be a conversation. Like I said the first thing that I want you to do is to learn how to have relationships. I just had the conversation this morning. I cannot worry and tell you about sex when y'all 24, 29, 32. What I have to do is teach you how to have relationships, because people are very toxic.
Yeah.
And some of us are real sensitive and empathic, and we get entangled and we don't know how to process our emotions, but we have laid down with the individual.
Come on.
And many, many people cannot handle casual sex. I know we think we can, but many, many, many people cannot. And it's because a lot of us is mentally insane. So that's a topic for next week. We're going to dig into that to understand, what we phrase as casual sex. And in 2026, 27, 28 and beyond, why lay it down with mentally unhealthy people is not a good look. Right? It's just not a good look. And that goes for the older people, honey, because they getting it in.
It's just bad.
So,
just bad. Might be worse.
It is worse. Okay, but we're going to handle that next week. So y'all clutch your pearls. I know they was clutching. I know everybody's
just leave your pearls in the box.
Yeah, let's put it
in the jewelry box. Just leave your pearls in the jewelry box.
coming again. But I love the conversation. Thank you for being brave and bold enough to stand in your thoughts and how you feel and not shut away, because we're not going to get anywhere if you did that. That's why I was listening intently. So thank you once again. Our email address is therighteousview01@gmail.com. Please send the topics that you feel will be beneficial. So there was one topic, what to do after a trauma bonding marriage.
Trauma, yes. Mm-hmm.
If you have a degree of special training in a specific area related to women's health and would like to be a special guest, please email your bio and we will review it and reply as soon as we can. We will continue our next podcast with our guest panelists as they give their perspective on men and relationships. Now, if you enjoyed the podcast, please tune in and tell a friend. If you put a comment in the chat and we didn't get to it, we will address it, and please email us and we will address it then. You want me to take your part, or you want to do your part?
Oh, I'll do my little part. So thank you, ladies, for coming on, and we are excited about the continuation of this conversation. Yeah. We don't really care that people think that, oh my gosh, they shouldn't be talking about that. Then turn your TV or whatever off. Turn to another channel, go to another podcast, something that might be more comfortable and suitable for you. So maybe some little soft-spoken preacher will be able to take your little ears. But we want to talk about real conversation. So this is what we're going to be doing on The Righteous View. So we want to thank our viewers for tuning in, and we look forward to another edition of The Righteous View. Thank you, everybody.